Hey there, and welcome to Utility Sports. We have breaking news on a potential trade today, as well as some 2023 NBA draft discussion. Thank you to everyone who's already in here now. I'm really excited to break down some of the potential rumors that we're hearing coming out of Shams Charania. We are going to put that on the screen here at some point. So I'm really excited to kind of break down and analyze what we're going to potentially see in a trade between the Boston Celtics, the Washington Wizards, and the Los Angeles Clippers. And notably, a couple of weeks ago, when they hired Michael Winger, I talked about the Clippers as a potential landing spot for Kristaps Porzingis, looking at the relationship between Michael Winger and, of course, the Clippers organization as their former GM. I thought the two of them would be really good trade partners. Well, it looks like the Clippers themselves didn't necessarily want Kristaps Porzingis, so instead there's a third team now in the mix, and it's one that is pretty surprising. I don't think any of us really expected a deal to Boston where the Celtics would be bringing in Kristaps Porzingis. Of course, earlier on there was rumors about, is Jaylen Brown going to be available? It looks like the Celtics are actually putting some of their assets on the line potentially here in a trade for Porzingis, who has a $36.1 million player option, and his deadline to opt in was today. So with this news breaking, it likely means that Porzingis is opting into his player option, and the Celtics will likely look to extend him off of that player option at, hopefully for them, a more favorable price point than $36 million a year. But we'll see kind of what goes on. Welcome everyone in here. Jared Noley with some Discord hype. Just a quick disclaimer, down in the description, there's a link to our Discord server where all of these awesome people, all the people in this live stream right now, are talking basketball pretty much 24/7. So it's a great place to be. Make sure to go join that. Also, a quick shout out as well to Aura. Links in the description for that as well. Aura is a digital software protection type of company. They do a lot of really good work. There's a 14-day free trial down in the description, and we have a deal worked out with Aura where we get some pretty good financial benefits from you guys just signing up for a free trial that you can cancel right away if you needed to. So I would really appreciate if you went and did that. It's a really good way to support the channel without actually having to give up any of your own hard-earned money. It's really helpful if you guys don't mind doing that. And of course, hit that subscribe button as well. We're gonna go through some of the comments here quick and get some hype in here. Zach, welcome to the stream. Obviously, Zach's a big time Indiana Pacers fan, but he has some really good basketball insight in general too. So glad to see you in here, Zach. Burger Does Sports with a let's go. And then he wants to know my thoughts quickly on the Nuggets stockpiling first and second round picks in this draft. It's all about depth. They're really working in a great manner right now. I was worried about when they lost Tim Connolly if there was going to be a brain drain in Denver, because it is very tough to actually go through and replace your management, especially when you have good management that you're losing to other organizations. But Calvin Booth has done a fantastic job. Of course, he organized and pioneered the KCP trade with Washington a year ago, and now making some really good moves. I think the Pacers is a little puzzling to me with them moving back a year and down in the second round, but I understood that, hey, they had 5 picks in this year's draft. It's not very likely to actually see them use all 5 of those selections. So moving out of it does make some sense. They're in a really good spot now going into next draft with a couple of extra assets, and they still have probably a little bit of maneuverability, I would say, in this draft as well to go out and make some moves. And I like it from Denver's perspective, a team that just was at the top. They're not good with just winning one title. They want to position themselves for the rest of Nikola Jokic's prime, Jamal Murray's prime, Michael Porter Jr.'s prime, and I think that they're doing a great job in doing so. So huge win for them, I think. Ty's Thoughts says, yo, welcome to the stream, Ty. Glad to have you on here. Brady Thompson, he's been watching the channel for as long as I can remember, so huge shout out to Brady. Love to have him in here. Big J52, of course, one of our members on the channel. That's why he's got that special little icon by his name. He says, yo, yes, sir. Welcome to the stream, Big J. Glad to have you in here. Glad to talk about the Washington Wizards quite a bit today. No More King says, yo, welcome to the stream. Indrickson here says, no trade hasn't happened yet. Right, but they're in the process of finalizing it. So right now we kind of have the loose framework based on what Shams Charania has actually shared with us on his Twitter. So we're going to go ahead and actually try and set that up right now so that you guys can see this. Hopefully it's on the stream. Let me make sure. This is my first time streaming on my brand new setup, by the way. So hopefully it's pretty smooth. But here we are. Here's the report 21 minutes ago. As soon as these reports started coming in, I started working and getting some stuff put together. So I went to town right away working. But Shams Charania here says, sources, Celtics, Clippers, Wizards in serious talks on a deal involving Kristaps Porzingis to Boston, Malcolm Brogdon to Los Angeles, Marcus Morris and draft compensation to Washington. And I think right ahead of the NBA draft here. We are literally like 28 hours away or so from the beginning of the 2023 NBA draft. With the opt-in day, and I highlighted this on my own personal Twitter, links in the description for that as well for Utility Sports Twitter. I highlighted on there that June 21st was a really important day for the Washington Wizards because it was both Kyle Kuzma's player option date and it was Kristaps Porzingis' player option date, where you have to let the team know if you are actually opting in to your contract or not. And of course, seemingly here with them being able to route Porzingis somewhere, we have pretty good indication that he is opting into that $36.1 million mark, which, first of all, makes a lot of sense for him. That's really good financial payday for 1 year. And he was very healthy this last season, played 65 games. And I think, honestly, he put up all-star level numbers. And I said this, if you go back all the way to the live stream 2 trade deadlines ago, where the Mavericks traded him, I said he's going to have an all-star-esque type of season with the Washington Wizards the following year. And that's what he did. He put up massive numbers. He had a really good rim protection rate and percentages in some of his advanced analytics as well, and kind of his defensive impact. I think, honestly, there was a little bit of candidacy to him being a potential defensive, all defense team member, which no one really talked about, but I think he had that good of a year for Washington. So this is a really good get for Boston. And I think this closely fits what Brad Stevens kind of envisions for the roster, but more so what Joe Mazzulla wants, which is a perimeter spacing big. I've talked at length about Karl Anthony Towns potentially going to the Boston Celtics. This one makes a little bit more sense because Porzingis' trade value probably a little bit lower with his injury history, probably easier to fit him in without having to strip your entire team of all your picks, which that's probably what the Celtics are doing here is they're getting a three-point shooting big man who can protect the rim for them. I'm interested to see what happens in this deal. So Malcolm Brogdon going to the Los Angeles Clippers, I do really like that for the Clippers as well. They need players who can get downhill. Now, my big question is, does that mean Russell Westbrook's out the door? Which my expectation currently is that he could either sign back with the Washington Wizards. He has a relationship with GM Michael Winger, who was with him in Oklahoma City, then brought him into the Clippers, and now could realistically bring him into the Wizards. Even if they're in a rebuild, kind of retooling, I still think, with Russ's history in Washington, he has a relationship with the owner, Ted Leonsis, as well. I think that's a possible landing spot. And then you also look at Chicago, the Bulls with Billy Donovan. I think those are the 2 premier landing spots for Russell Westbrook this offseason. Both of those organizations can offer more money, and I mean significantly more money than the LA Clippers because of their tax status. So I think that those 2 teams are teams to watch for Russell Westbrook, but I do really like Brogdon to the Clippers. I could see him being their starting point guard. Otherwise, I could see him being an off-the-bench guard, and they kind of start with Terrence Mann and pivot to more of a scoring backcourt off the bench when, say, you sub out one of Kawhi Leonard or Paul George. There's a ton of rumors right now about Paul George as well. We'll talk about that later in the stream. I don't think that there's as much legitimacy to that as this current report that we're discussing about this 3-team trade. But I do think this is an interesting framework that makes sense for all sides involved. Porzingis fits Boston's kind of team identity, the 3-point shooting. Malcolm Brogdon does a nice job getting to the rim. I think it's going to be a more reliable guard for the Clippers than what they've had in years past with Patrick Beverley, Reggie Jackson, Russell Westbrook. To a certain extent, it's a little bit more reliable at times, but there's also some downfalls to his game too. So I think this makes a lot of sense for the Clippers, depending on what assets each team is giving up. Now, if the Celtics are giving up 3 or 4 first-round picks, I don't like this for them. But if they're giving up 1 or 2, I'm okay with where they're at, honestly. And then Marcus Morris in compensation to Washington, turning Porzingis, who potentially, if you would have asked me a week ago, I thought there was a decent chance that Porzingis would test his market in free agency. So the fact that they are likely turning Porzingis around into draft assets is a massive win. I think Michael Winger has done a fantastic job so far in GMing and being the president, actually. Will Dawkins, of course, the GM of the Washington Wizards. He's done such a fantastic job. So if it's 1 or 2 first-round picks, it might not seem like a lot for Kristaps Porzingis, who just put up about 23 points a game and was blocking shots left and right. It might not seem like a lot, but the fact that he could have potentially left in free agency for nothing had they not orchestrated this type of deal and got him to opt in, then you're looking at a massive win, I think, just for the organization in general with where they're at and some of the situation that we actually see playing out for the Washington Wizards. Unlimited Range, welcome to the stream. He's also part of that Discord channel. Hungry for Brussels says, how long do you think you'll stream for? A few hours for sure. We've got a lot to talk about. We've only been streaming for 10 minutes. I'm going to be streaming a long time today because we have to talk about this Porzingis deal. Hopefully we'll get some actual real breaking news on what the actual package itself looks like. So I'm excited for that. And then also Just working off of that too, we're going to talk about the 2023 NBA draft. I know that's not in the title, but it is on the thumbnail because that is a plan I have to talk about the 2023 NBA draft quite a bit. So we'll get to it at some point, but I think this is what our top priority should be. Georgia Bulldogs, welcome to the stream. Glad to see you in here. Really good kid. Mason M says, I'm so excited as a Celtics fan. You should be. This is a fantastic move for the Boston Celtics. Let's look at Kristaps Porzingis' stats from last year, just because I want to make sure I'm 100% accurate. I have a pretty good feel. You have 23.2 points per game, shot 49.8% from the field, which is a career high. In fact, if you look at his career, he's been trending up every single season. People like to talk about how he was kind of disappointing for the Dallas Mavericks. His best season before this year was with the Mavericks in 2021, where he was significantly more efficient than he ever was with the Knicks. This year, though, 49.8% from the field, which is a career mark. 38.5% from three, which is not a career mark, but definitely very strong showing in general. I grabbed 8 rebounds a game, 2.7 assists a game, a steal a game basically as well. So pretty much career numbers in every single category for Porzingis since landing in Washington. So he's been fantastic. When they traded for him, I said it was a phenomenal trade. That's one of the few deals that Tommy Shepard made that made a lot of sense, getting off of Dinwiddie and Bertans, 2 guys that he overpaid. He did a very good job pivoting here to Porzingis. And now, even though he's not the lead decision maker that is making this new move, it did set up the Wizards for a trade like this. So I'm excited to see what continues to happen. Brendan Sutherland says, time for some dominoes to fall. There's a lot of rumors right now in the NBA. The NBA cannot go a single day, not even a single hour, I would say, without being overly dramatic for no reason. Brian Bishop says NBA salary cap is a joke. Well, there's mechanisms in the NBA that allow you to spend. And without that, it would be a really bad league for the players. You can't look at the NFL salary cap and say that's a better salary cap because players are significantly limited in what they can make. Their guaranteed money is significantly lower. Oftentimes, NFL teams cut good players to save money. That's not what the NBA is like, which is good. The NBA is a better actual league because of that, in my opinion. So I'm just happy about that. Baylor Bear says, just got on. What did I miss? Not much. We just started about 12 minutes ago, and your comment was 9 minutes ago. So you didn't really miss anything. Peter Antonius wants to know, is the trade official? Not quite yet, but I think it's in the process of getting there. Mason says, how would you grade this trade for the Celtics if it's something like Brogdon, Gallinari, pick 35, and a first? I think that's a win for them. They're looking at the team that finished the Eastern Conference Finals. Of course, Brogdon was out with an injury. And they're saying, okay, we're essentially throwing in Porzingis into this grouping of guys that if you don't have to give up much of your main core to begin with, it's a huge win for the organization. So I like it. Zach, I did see that, yes. I still, I understand, you theoretically move 29 up to, say, 18, 15, whatever number next year. But I do think that, I would have just preferred them trying to package 26, 29, and 32 to go up in this year's draft. But it's not like I said on Twitter, it's not like a terrible trade. Those things, when you make a move backward a year, I don't think it's actually that bad. But it was just a little bizarre to me still, though, seeing them move down a year and back in the second round. But I don't think it was a terrible trade, like I said on Twitter. Again, links in the description for that. Go give us a follow on Twitter right now. I'll be shouting out anyone who follows on Twitter in the next 10 minutes. Chris Estrada here says, realistic target, if the Spurs move up into the lottery, it would be for Cason Wallace. I think that would be the most likely target for them. Joe Mapes here says, Pacers need to send Turner and McConnell for Ayton. Would be an interesting move. I think the Pacers might be better off with Turner, though, to be honest. Zach Aldridge here says, worst of Clippers, Houston, Utah, Detroit next year, which makes it a lot better. Yeah, the thing is, though, the Clippers, this year would have been picked 20. So you're moving back 29 a year to get to 20. Theoretically, who knows what the Clippers are next year, right? You could argue maybe they'll be better. Or maybe they'll be worse, but either way, you can see it. Isaac here says, bro, I'm so glad I joined the Discord. It's been so much fun to talk ball. Yeah, make sure you guys go join that Discord server. A lot of great NBA discussion and NCAA basketball discussion, as well as I think we have a movie channel in there. We got a lot of fun stuff. So if you just like talking with other people who have similar interests as you, it's a great place to be. Georgia Bulldogs here for life said, I'm about to watch your final mock after this, I see you have my Hawks drafting Lively. Is that what I ended up landing on? I don't think I landed on Lively in the final mock, actually. So you'll have to check that out, though. Dapper here says, accidentally part of notification squad. Well, that's great. Make sure you guys hit that notification bell so you don't miss out on more. Samit here says, what's up, dude? Really excited for this. Me too. Alon says, what will Washington get? And my expectation right now is that they will get some low-level compensation from the Clippers and at least one first-round pick from the Boston Celtics. Do you guys think it would be worth going on to Fanspo and kind of playing around with the trade machine and looking at potentially how to make the money work on this? Texas Sports says, Brady, Zach, Nick, and Dan's nice showing from the Discord. Yes, Texas Sports is our Discord moderator over there. He does a great job, has a lot of community events. So make sure you guys go hop in there and kind of hit it up with all the guys in there. It'd be awesome to have you in there. Zach Aldridge says, looks clean, setup upgrade is huge, man. It's been so much fun. I love editing. That's my full-time job is editing for a TV station. So having a nice monitor and actually two nice monitors and a nice computer that can actually do what I'm hoping it does is really, really nice. TLGS Services, do you feel next year's draft to be underwhelming compared to this year's? I'm looking for my Spurs to trade 3 first-rounders to get Anthony Black. So next year's draft is not as strong as this year's, but I do think one important thing, the depth next year is actually going to be pretty decent in my opinion, because a lot of players who were kind of fringe first-round picks in this strong draft ended up withdrawing. You think about a guy like Bobby Clinton as a great example of that, who decided to return to school. I think Zach Edey, who, whatever his NBA ceiling is, whatever, but he's a post-up scorer. There's like ways to play out of him in the NBA as like a backup big, kind of what we've seen from Boban Marjanovic and Enes Kanter in their career. So I think that there's players next year where maybe the top there's no Victor Wembanyama. I don't even think there's a Scoot Henderson or even a Brandon Miller next year. So the top of the draft is pretty weak. But I think that overall the strength of the class is going to be the depth. I think at pick 20, you're going to be able to get a pretty good player next year. Pick 30, you still might be able to get someone who has some really good value as well. So I think late picks next year is still going to be beneficial, which is part of the reason why that Pacers trade earlier I didn't think was terrible, having 2 assets next year in the draft. Isaac here says, just realized Texas won't recognize me from Discord because my usernames are different. Yeah, Isaac, it's you're gonna have to get those the mirrored on Discord so we exactly know who you are from the streams. Busy Boomin says, Amen to the Rockets. I love Amen Thompson. I'm like literally the biggest Amen Thompson guy of all time. Fred the Jig, if you're looking for any links, they're all in the description. The Aura link for a 14-day free trial, really recommend going and checking that out. They give you a really nice insurance policy on some stuff if you end up re-upping with them after that 14-day free trial. So definitely go check that out. Links in the description, as well as the Discord links in there, as well as Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, all of them. There's like 5 links in the description. Just go give us a follow and go click on all of those links. LJ Maverick says, what's the Discord for Utility Sports? It's just about talking basketball specifically. New York Retro says, Knicks need to make a move. That Oni trade rumor can't be the only move they make. We'll see what happens with the Knicks. There's been some rumors about Zach LaVine potentially, which I don't know if a reunion with Tom Thibodeau makes the most sense, because Thibodeau is part of the reason that LaVine tore his ACL. And then first thing that Thibodeau could do when he had like full control of the team was he traded LaVine. So definitely an interesting situation. Let's get down. Here, Texas Sports has links in the description. We've done mock drafts. We've done a lot of stuff. So Texas Sports has been the man over there. He's been running a lot of that great stuff. So make sure to hop in there. Isaac here says, what a lovely voice. Not sure if that's me. I'm probably not talking about me. My voice, I feel like I sometimes my own videos, I'll hear them and it's just like, oh my gosh, what is going on? Brian Bishop here says, I'm so excited as a Kings fan that the NBA is rigged and the salary cap is a complete joke. Just have a rich owner who will pay the luxury tax. I mean, it doesn't mean you win. I think only 4 out of the last 10 NBA champions have been in the luxury tax, or not necessarily the luxury tax, but have been above what will be the second apron in the new CBA. So I don't know. I don't think spending is as synonymous with winning as people assume it is. Dapper here says, looks like it'll be a busy offseason. I think so as well. Craig Rob says, KP was great in New York on defense, though. Yeah, he was. Porzingis was like pre-ACL. He was super special defensively there. But offensively, he was so much more efficient in Dallas. And part of that is playing off of Doncic. You're just going to have some easier looks generated for you. Jaden here says, what picks do I think are included? Let's go ahead here. Let's remove this from the stream, and let's go over to Fanspo, and let's actually play around with it, because I think it's kind of fun to look at. Notice DeAndre Ayton. This is always one of my favorite things to do, is getting in here and seeing who the trending players are to be traded. DeAndre Ayton's in the number 1 spot right now. But let's go ahead. Let's throw in the Washington Wizards here. Let's throw in the Los Angeles Clippers. There they are. And let's add a third team. Let's add the Boston Celtics. And let's kind of discuss what we're seeing here. So Porzingis, $36 million, traded to the Celtics. So now to make the money work, this is where some difficulties are going to come in because Brogdon makes only 22.5. So this is one of my big questions here. If he's going to the Clippers and Marcus Morris is going to the Wizards, let's just hit trade right now so we can point out some of the financial issues. The Clippers here can only take back $21.4 million. So they need to essentially either pay out $1 million more or cut $1 million. Obviously, you can't change Brogdon's contract. So they're not going to cut $1 million. They have to add more money. And the Celtics need to add about $8 million more or so to their deal. So let's go back in and let's adjust the trade here now and make this work, okay? So Celtics have to throw in about $8 million more, which here's that Gallinari piece. Let's trade him to the Wizards. Let me think. Yeah, I don't think going to the Clippers makes sense because of the money. And then we could probably see Peyton Pritchard go to the Clippers. They did trade out their backup point guard to the Suns in a deal. Not that not to the Clippers, excuse me, to the Wizards. Not that Pritchard is really important for the Wizards right now, but for money purposes, he is because he gets the money significantly closer. As for Chris Paul going to the Clippers, I don't know. I just see that being kind of difficult unless Eric Gordon were involved in this as well. So to shave off, how much money we had to shave off? $1 million. I think realistically, the player that the Wizards would probably want, this might sound crazy, okay, but I could see it being either Amir Coffey or Brandon Boston being included in this. Let's go with, let's trade Boston to the Wizards. I like that. It'd be funny if Boston was playing for the Celtics. It would say Boston on the front and back of his jersey. And for picks here, let's do 35 to the Wizards. Let's do, let's see, for Brogdon last year, he got traded. Brogdon essentially is pick 29 this year is what the trade was. So let's trade 30 to the Wizards as well. That's kind of funny. And then we'll send a 2024 second. And actually, no, let's take out the 2024 second. Let's throw a 2025 top 10 protected to the Wizards. And let's see, does this deal financially work? And looking at it, it does. It's within the 125% rule, which is the final year of that. This is what a potential deal could theoretically look like. Now, again, this is not firmly reported or anything. This is just kind of throwing pieces together. A few things to note. My assumption is Danilo Gallinari's in here for the money. My assumption is Peyton Pritchard, who's requested a trade, which is very rare to see a backup point guard do that, but he's done it. He's probably in this deal as well for money purposes. Brandon Boston's in the deal as kind of a young player to help the money work for the Clippers. Realistically, this could be Jason Preston. This could be a wide variety of players. This doesn't necessarily just have to be Brandon Boston, okay? Pick 30, pick 35, and a future first from the Celtics. So essentially they give up 2 salaries that they don't really care about. They give up Brogdon, who they like, pick 35 and a future 1. It's not that really steep. And for the Clippers, going off of Morris, who they don't want to keep right now, I think that he would like a change of scenery. Boston, who's young, but if they move off of him, who cares? Really, for their perspective, they're so good and deep that Boston probably doesn't play for them again this year again anyway. And then you give up pick 30, which is the last pick in the first round, in the deal here for Malcolm Brogdon. We'll see if this actually comes to fruition or not. We will be keeping our eyes out on Twitter to see if there's any more reporting from Shams Charania. But I think this is kind of the framework of the deal. I'm interested to see what you guys have to say. Solid Jakin, welcome to the stream. He's a big-time Kings fan. He's been watching the channel for a long time, so a huge shout out to him. Data-driven Pistons fan says, any thoughts on Washington trading up to 5 with Detroit? I do think that those two are kind of natural trade partners because I feel like at 5, it's a little weird mocking for the Pistons. Outside of Cam Whitmore is really the only player I think makes a ton of sense. And the Wizards, if they were to move up, you'd realistically look at maybe Alstar Thompson. But I think that it's really possible that right now we just see Whitmore go 5 and then ultimately see the Wizards take one of either Anthony Black or Alstar Thompson anyway. Solid Jake in here says, hey, Sheldon, what do you think the chances are the Kings make a big splash on draft night, a.k.a. OG Anunoby? I wouldn't bet on it just because they don't have a lot of their picks right now. Not that they owe a ton of them, but they owe one of them with backup protection, so it's kind of hard to see them make a big trade currently. LJ Maverick says Bobby Klintman isn't allowed to go back to school. I don't think. Yeah, he's going to the NBL, actually. I think he's going to play as one of the next stars is what they're called. similar to what we've seen Luke Travers do, and also similar to what Ryan Rupert did in this year's draft, as he went from France over to the NBL, and now he's going to be likely a first-round pick or a high second-round pick in this year's draft. Samuel McMahon says, I think next year's draft has a multitude of guys that are on the 5 to 9 level in this year's draft. That's about what I feel too. I don't think that the top of the draft is as strong, but I think you're going to get pretty good depth in general. I think Georgia Bulldogs, by the way, you guys would really like Jordan Hawkins in the final mock. I think he would be great for the Atlanta Hawks. Jamal Douglas says, can we send in our mock drafts like we did last year? Yes, Jamal, we will 100% do that. Let's save that for after some of this Porzingis trade discussions, but I definitely want to see your guys' mocks. Actually, you know what? Let's just start sending them now. That way I have a compilation of them that we can show on stream. So go to Twitter right now. I will send the link to the profile here just so that it's easiest for you guys to get to it. I will send this in the comments section. Go give us a follow on Twitter right now. I will be shouting out whoever follows on there. And make sure to DM me or mention me in a tweet on your lottery mock drafts or just your mock drafts in general. I'd love to see what you guys have to say. We'll probably show some of them on stream and have like a little bit of fun NBA discussion to round out the day today. Kai said here says, what do you think Utah does tomorrow? Trade or stay at 9? I think they stay at 9. If they're going to trade, I think they're going to trade 28 and 16 to get back up around 10. Maybe with the Dallas Mavericks would be the most likely trade I could see them doing. And that's in the situation that Utah has two guys that they really like at 9, and they want both of them. Isaac here says, who says no? Pacers get DeAndre Hunter in 14. Hawks get 7, 26, Duarte, and Tice. That's actually not a bad package. I kind of like that. I would say probably Hawks say no, but I don't know. I don't hate that. I don't hate that at all. Probably see 55 in there as well, though. John Suarez says, what's the buzz on Dame Lillard? Is he moving on from the Blazers? As of right now, my expectation is the Blazers keep pick 3, they draft with it, and they also keep Damian Lillard. I think that they're going to try and play the middle pathway, which is what they should do. Talal here says, Brooklyn trade rumors. Look at them being aggressive to move back up from 21 and 22 into the lottery. We'll see if they can get it done or not, but I think that's their primary goal. NBA says, I trade KJ. If you're are you talking about KJ Martin, or are you talking? I might be missing something. I don't know. You'll have to give further in depth on what you mean there, because there's a lot of KJs in the NBA. K Smart says, could you see Indy trading pick 7 for Kuminga? If Jarrett's off the board, I'd pull the trigger on it. Not straight up. No, I think more realistic would be like, I don't even know. I don't know if I see Kuminga landing in Indy, to be honest. Hardheimer says maybe by Utility Sports. It's okay. He can call me whatever. It's not a big deal. New York Retro here says, any player or players that you're hearing about rising or falling in this draft in the past 24 to 48 hours? Not really. It's been kind of silent, but there's like last year a player that fell big time. Ohio State forward. His name just slipped my mind. He got drafted by the Pelicans in round 2, and then he tore his ACL. He was a 4. I need to. Oh, EJ Liddell. He ended up falling, but there wasn't like rumors about him possibly falling. LJ Maverick says, do you think this trade hamstrings Boston with JB's possible supermax in the second apron looming? Not really, because it depends on what Porzingis' number ends up looking like on an extension. Because at $36 million, I know it's a lot, but remember, even if they sign Brown to a supermax this offseason, this is only for 1 year here. So realistically, his final year at $36 million, maybe he takes a pay cut next year and goes down in money. So it'll be interesting to watch for sure. Jared here says, can you play around for Portland trades to build around Dame? First of all, Jared, thank you for the $5. Any little donation to the stream goes a long way in helping me continue to post these types of videos and actually take time out of my day to live stream, because it just helps. It goes a long way in helping kind of support the channel, and I really do appreciate it. So shout out to you, Jared, and let's go ahead and real quick, let's go to Fanspo. I'm going to leave that one trade up, but we're going to remove this from the screen for now, and we're going to go back and share a new window with some Portland Trailblazers trades. Just real quick, we're going to spend like 2-3 minutes doing this. So again, thank you, Jared, so much. And let's jump in. Let's talk about Let's talk about the Miami Heat first, because the rumors around Adebayo to Portland, like you'd probably see Simons go back. I don't know. I just can't really see Miami actually doing it though, because they were just in the finals. I just don't see them blowing up a big part of their team, and what he's good at and what he's capable of. So let's go over to the West and let's look at the Minnesota Timberwolves, who this is a team that's more likely, I would say, to make a trade for pick number 3, and it would be centered around Karl Anthony Towns, who kind of had a down year for himself because of his injuries and just wasn't shooting the ball as good as he typically does. So you'd probably see Simons and Nurkic go back in that one. That's about $40 million. Maybe you see Kyle Anderson go to Portland, and then the Wolves taking like Kevin Knox's contract to get the money super close. Probably pick 53 to Portland, pick 3 to the Timberwolves, and that's roughly the done deal, I think. Like you could argue on what other assets need to be in here, but that's like one potential one that's like kind of a framework. That's really the most important thing. I know you might say, well, this is not the trade that's going to get accepted. The whole point of doing these is to just talk about like frameworks of deals. So that's really the best thing to do. Zach Aldridge says, you don't think my trades from the mock you posted were realistic? I mean, the trades that you did, Zach, pretty impressive, ending up at pick 7 and pick 8 in the draft. Georgia, glad to have you in the Discord. Make sure you guys all go join that Discord right now. Love seeing everyone in there joining. It's super awesome having people in there. Let's go on to this comment right here by Raiden. Blazers aren't making a cat trade. Yeah, probably not. But I'm just saying, like, if you're looking for trades around pick number 3, like, it's probably one of the better options. Otherwise, we could go to Toronto and talk about Siakam. But the issue with trading for Siakam is he's on an expiring contract. So have fun with that compared to Cat being actually locked in. It's just, I think Cat fits better off of Jeremy Grant anyway. And some of the players that they have, but let's do a Pascal Siakam one because everyone prefers Siakam for some reason over Cat, which I don't know. He's older than Cat. He's on a shorter term deal than Cat, which means you have to probably extend him and lock him into your franchise through his age 35 season. So it's like, I don't know. I'm not really about it, but we'll talk about it as a potential framework. So pick 3 goes here to Toronto with Siakam, and let's throw in DJ Wilson. Let's do that to make the money work within $600,000. Pretty good. The Raptors actually have a little bit of extra money coming in. Blazers get a little bit of saving. And all in all, I think it's a pretty solid deal. You could, again, argue maybe 23 has to be in there, whatever. But for a framework perspective, it's fairly accurate. Main here says, who says no? Celtics get pick 3 and Anthony Simons. Portland gets Jaylen Brown, Marcus Smart, and Al Horford. I think the Celtics say no to that one. I think if there's a pick 3 trade, Jaylen Brown would be like the only player going there. I don't think that we'd see them give up a lot of other pieces too. Craig Robb says we've seen Cat and Pascal in the playoffs. Pascal is way more reliable. I mean, yeah, it's a lot easier being the number 2 player behind Kawhi Leonard. How many playoff series has Pascal Siakam won since 2019? Let's go look. Pascal Siakam playoff stats. Let's just see what he's done in his playoff game log after 2019 when he was playing off of, at that time, who was the player who was the best player in the world. Eastern Conference, round 1, they played the Brooklyn Nets and beat them. Okay. Those games, he had 18 points, 19 points, 26 points, 20 points. Then in the Eastern Conference semifinals, this is his point per game scoring against the Boston Celtics. 13, 17, 16, 23, 10, 12, and 13. So he had one game over 20 points in a 6-game series. And some notable plus minuses from that series: game 1, minus 20, game 5, minus 25. So he was only positive in 3 of the 7 games, and one of them he was only positive by plus 4. So I don't know. And then this past year against Philadelphia, he was a minus 19, minus 23, minus 4. Games 4 and 5, he was actually pretty good, pretty impactful. Game 4, he shot 15 free throws. And then game 6, he was a minus 32. So I don't know. I'm not sure where this Pascal Siakam love comes from, because I don't know if he's like, don't get me wrong, Cat's not reliable either, but like, if you're trading for a guy who's on his contract and is not a flight risk in free agency and he's younger, it just probably makes more sense, honestly. Saul Jake in here says Kings should trade Holmes and Barnes, but I'm not sure who they can get back to help their defense. Kuzma is an option without having to trade. The difficulty about Barnes is you have to make a sign and trade to work that. Jared Noli here says, what do you think a Magic Portland trade would look like? A Magic and Portland trade. Are you inferring that? Oh, I think at first my brain thought about Dame to Orlando, which I had never really even considered. But I think what he more so talked about was 6 and 11, probably for 3. And honestly, like 6 and 11 is pretty valuable to me. So I wouldn't want to give up a ton more. Realistically, the only other thing I'd be like considering if I were them is like, is there a way I could get like Jonathan Isaac in for like Yusuf Nurkic, or like what does that look like really? Like, is there something like this in there that you can work out? And then like obviously you need some type of center back, so it's like you get Goga Bitadze with it or something, and then what the Blazers throwing Knox's contract, like something like that maybe. I don't know. Like I don't like Yusuf Nurkic really for the Blazers. I think they need rim protection and size. Not that Bitadze really brings that, but Isaac, if he's on the floor, ever does. And pick 6 and 11 is really valuable to me. Like pick 3 is as well. Don't get me wrong. Like especially if you're getting Scoot Henderson. But yeah, like 3 for 6 and 11. I would say straight up makes sense too. But I don't know. Zach here says you buy recent Miller to Charlotte reports. I don't know. I think part of me is like so traumatized from last year where I just was like trusting that Jabari Smith was going to be the first pick. And then out of the top 11 picks, that was the only thing I had wrong was I had Jabari to Orlando and I had Paolo to Houston because that's what had been reported. So I felt stupid to not put that. So this year I'm not trusting it. I'm going to stick with Scoot Henderson goes second and kind of the way that my board ended up actually playing out in my last mock draft. So Zach, no worries too if you're at work too. Like I appreciate just asking questions. I don't have any issues with because people jump in and out of this too, so it's perfectly fine. Not your average 10K says he's not that good. Just give us proof. Well, the thing is, like I don't want to talk about like the thing is, Cat's been the number one guy in a lot of his playoff series, which is already like more difficult to score, especially as a post-up player, like and a big man where a lot of your actions can be taken away a little bit easier than just being a natural ball handler, which is part of what separates Jokic and Cat. I mean, Jokic is so much more, like, so much better, more talented, too, so it's, part of it. But, like, for Siakam, like, playing off of Dame, he would probably be more successful. And Cat playing off of Dame would be more successful as well in the postseason. So I just don't think it's fair to knock Cat for playoff production when really Siakam, like, they haven't really advanced deep. And when they have gotten out of the first round, Siakam's kind of laid an egg in the second round of the playoffs anyway. So, I don't know. TJ Dubs 8, Dorian Finney-Smith and O'Neal for Robert Williams. I don't know about that. I don't really like that for Boston. I would really like that for Brooklyn, though. Not your average 10K says he's a decent player for Pascal and him and really overrated. I don't even know if he's overrated. He's really talented, but it's just like I just don't want to knock one guy for playoff deficiencies when the other guy, outside of playing with Kawhi Leonard, hasn't been like a lethal playoff killer either. Spiral Trigger here says, I feel Pistons trade for either 10, 11, or 14, or Lakers pick. That's an interesting grouping of picks to discuss. Texas Sports says, nice job, Sheldon. We're getting an influx of new members right now, 161 members in the Discord, and there's 354 of you awesome people watching, so please go hit that link that's in the description. And also just a reminder here as well, you do not want to forget. Here, I'm actually going to send the Discord link in, so that you guys can go hit that. Go join the Discord right now. Link, I just sent it in the comment section. Go use it. And I also want you guys to use this Aura link as well. Go sign up for a free trial on there. Shout out to Aura for hitting us up with a little bit of a sponsorship. Il here says lateral movement for Boston. I mean, like, yeah, I just don't know if I don't know if Porzingis moves the needle that much for them, but it fits their team better than what they currently have at center, just because of the way, and I like Robert Williams a lot. I really do. But I don't think Joe Mazzulla likes Robert Williams, which is the more important thing anyway than how I feel about him is, like, if the coach isn't going to play him 30 minutes, like, you probably want to, like, upgrade a little bit to what fits your coach and your new scheme. Ray here says, is this a good trade? Magic get RJ Barrett, Mitchell Robinson, Miles McBride, and future picks. I'm assuming for 6 and 11. I don't know. I don't think the Knicks will do anything like that. Knicks are more focused on landing a true star. Craig here says Pascal kicks it out from the double to guys who can't shoot. I 100% agree, and this is one of the things people love to talk about, how great Masai Ujiri is at team building. Then someone tell him that he needs to have guys who can shoot the basketball, because every single year he builds this lengthy defensive lineup, which I like that, but he doesn't have any shooting with it at all, ever. Like one or two movement shooters would go such a long way with Toronto, and I would love to mock that in a lot of my mock drafts, but the issue is Masai Ujiri has never proven to actually value that in any capacity. So at some point he needs to figure that out and get movement shooting, and I'm not talking about like, oh, the ninth guy on the roster can shoot. I'm talking about someone who's like a real playoff rotation minutes guy shooting. Solly here says, let's talk OKC. What's the move? We have so many draft picks, and Presti is a magician. I don't know if the Thunder, I think that their focus right now is continuing to build the team as is, add in one player this draft in the first round, and then what they're going to do is when they need to make some tough decisions, they can use draft picks to continue to flesh out their roster, add in depth, get out of contracts that they maybe don't want to get into or be in anymore. They're going to use it for flexibility perspective. I don't think that they're going to actually trade up in the draft. I just haven't heard a ton of that. Boston's whole roster is injury prone. I don't know about that. Tatum and Brown are pretty durable, I would say. Austin here says, do you see a world where the Spurs are able to trade into a second lottery pick without giving up Keldon or Vassell? Yeah, they have the assets to do it. They've got a ton of picks. They've got picks from the Bucks. They've got picks from pretty much every single team. They have a Bulls pick in there from the DeRozan sign and trade, which is incredible because typically you see sign and trades and you don't think, oh, well, this team's going to give up a valuable future first. They did, because that's the Bulls. That's what they've been doing. Not Your Average 10K here says, who's your favorite prospect in the draft that's not in the top 5 or 10? My favorite in the not top 5, I would say, is probably Anthony Black. And in the not top 10 category, Trayce Jackson-Davis. I love me some Trayce Jackson-Davis. This guy is a good basketball player. Really underrated. Braden here says, so are you high on Cat? Genuine question. I don't see that much value in him, especially the Blazers trade Anthony and 3. I believe the third alone will be better than Cat. I'm not a big Cat guy. So, no, I just don't want to be like knocking Cat for, some issues that other players have. Like performing every single night in the playoffs is really hard. And I think we look too much at like what LeBron's done in his career and some other like mega superstars, like best of all time type players. And we expect that out of all of these other players and, these kind of lower end stars. It's really, really tough to do that every single night. Like we've seen Julius Randle kind of fade away in the playoffs a bit, because if you're not like the supremely most talented player in the universe, it's really hard to put up 20 to 25 every single night in the playoffs. So I think we've been spoiled a little bit by some of the best of the best ever. And I also think because of that, our expectations right now for other players isn't really fair. Although I think Cat does have a high number of playoff duds. And of course, the team hasn't advanced in the playoffs with him. But also Minnesota's got a lot of issues outside of Karl-Anthony Towns over the last few years. Ryan here says, if you love basketball, the Discord is the perfect place to be. I 100% agree with that. Craig here says, also, if you're trading Pascal to Portland, he's going to be the number 2 option where you throw. Yeah, that's my point too, right? Is I think, and like that's I think a great point, Craig. And I think that's something that if you're looking at Cat, you have to also project that a little bit for him. Of hey, he's never been the second option in the playoffs. Like I know this past year, you could argue, oh, maybe he was behind Ant. Like at the same time, I think Dame's a much better fit with Karl-Anthony Towns than Ant is, kind of in their pick and pop game and pick and roll game. I think Dame's a little bit better as a facilitator, obviously, than Ant. So I think that, there's different things that could end up playing out better for Cat in a different circumstance, different situation. The Zodiac GM, Porzingis, Leo, and Tatum Pisces will not work. The last tier 1 Pisces that Porzingis was teamed up with failed. That player was Luka Doncic. Interesting. Zodiac GM always has the stars align when it comes to breaking down some of these players. Jason Kimball says, will Clips make any other trades? I think that they are lined up to potentially look at DeAndre Ayton. And that sounds a little crazy, but I think if there's a team right now in the league that I had to guess Ayton would be on, and it wasn't the Suns, it would probably be the Clippers. Professor X says, Boston about to flourish with Porzingis. I think Porzingis is going to be pretty good for them. Here a comment from Bento says, love the videos. Please keep it going like this. Also love the graphic improvements in the videos. The format of the last video was amazing too, by the way. Glad you liked it. Yeah, I had a lot of fun with that one. I should actually tweet that out right now because I was planning on tweeting that and I haven't gotten around to it. So hopefully you guys did enjoy that video. It was my big board. I put a lot of work into that. So really, really happy with how that one turned out. I'm going to try and get that tweeted out here now, but Really happy with how this worked. Zach here sent me on Twitter a potential mock to look at. I'm not going to put it on stream quite yet, but we will save that for later. So thank you, Zach. Reminder, go follow on Twitter and then go and send me some of those things right away. Spiral here says, if Dallas 100% trades the 10th pick, then what move helps them next year more than Bojan, Bagley, Burks, and 31? You can get off of Hardaway and Bertans as well. I don't think that trade helps them at all. I think pick 10 would be better than that grouping of players for Dallas. Craig here says, I saw the interview on JJ's podcast. Wemby is an impressive person mentally as well. Yeah, he's a very, very good basketball player, but I think his mentality is a big reason as to why. Kev here says, who on the Celtics is injury prone besides Rob and Porzingis if this goes through? Not really anyone. And even Rob, sometimes players get injured and it's just it is what it is. It's hard to knock a player for being injury prone, in my opinion. You have to consider that, but I don't know. It's so subjective. A player can be not injury prone until he is. It's just it is what it is. Adam here says, even though we will be good at rebounding, he lives at the 3-point line. Yeah. Defensively, he'll still secure boards. He averaged over 8 boards a game this past year. So, Ben, do you still see the Jazz getting black, or is this Orlando, Washington stuff all just a smokescreen? I could still see the Jazz getting black. I think that that Anthony Black's the perfect type of player that Danny Ainge would love to see go. Isaac here says, what would Clips give for Ayton in your opinion? Let's go ahead and go back over to Fanspo here. I'm going to go ahead and remove this trade, and I'm going to go show potential reasoning and rationale on what a trade could look like between the Clippers and Suns. And you kind of have to bear with me here a little bit, but I think that there's a lot that could really make sense in here, and it might even be the inclusion of Chris Paul in a deal, but now with Brogdon, and it's a little bit less likely, but I'm looking for the Clippers and the Suns. There we go. Clippers. So just by the way, look at these 3 contracts. Oh, man. So Ayton goes to the Clippers, and with that, we probably see Norm Powell go back, and we probably see the money here is a little bit more complicated now, which is partially what I don't like. So you know what? Let's do it. Let's add the Wizards back into this too, because I think that to really get the most out of this is what we'd have to see. So we're going to trade Chris Paul to the Clippers. The Wizards would get 48, which I did not include in that other package. That's what they get for Paul, just being in that, which is a little asset, but still an asset. And out of this, now this is a little bit more complicated making the money work here, but we'd probably see Gordon go to the Wizards. They eat some of that money. And then with this, so the Suns get off of 8, and they're looking for some depth. So they're going to take Zubats back, who's on a more friendly deal, fits their team decently well. And on top of that, they're going to get, let's do Covington to the Suns. And money-wise, they're taking in a little bit extra over the top. So let's send Campaign back to the Clippers, which you could argue maybe Campaign goes to the Wizards, actually. Let's just do that. That actually makes the money work even smoother. So this is what the trade would theoretically look like. Maybe you could see a draft pick go in here to Phoenix, but you're getting backup guard who can score off the bench. You're getting a big man who can screen and roll. Puts a little bit more rim pressure on, more offensive rebounding, in my opinion, than DeAndre Ayton. But Ayton's got more skill, more touch. So that's why the Clippers would look to do this. And Wizards turn Chris Paul into Campaign and Eric Gordon and a second-round pick. So I think it makes sense all in all. The Clippers' backcourt would then have both Chris Paul and Malcolm Brogdon. So and you'd have Terrence Mann still. So you have 3 reliable guards, I would say. And if Chris Paul gets hurt or whatever, it's not a big deal to the Clippers because he's whatever. He's their 3rd guard. Josh here says 40 trades tomorrow. Yeah, I think tomorrow's going to be a busy day. Kyler here, who's been watching the channel for a real long time. Shout out to Kyler. He says, do you see the Clippers potentially dealing Paul George? I just don't know. I don't really believe that. I just don't believe that we're going to see that. I think that's a really big move, and I think it's a big flip. If we are going to see something like that, we're going to do that too. Let's go back over here. Let's talk about a potential Paul George trade. Let's get rid of the Wizards and let's just do the Blazers in here. because that's what I would realistically see. 3 to the Clippers for Paul George, and we'll see probably, I don't know if Zubats would be in there. Covington definitely would not be in there. They traded him away. Probably see Batum in there. And then to make the money work, probably see Simons go. Nurkic goes. That's a lot of money to make up. And realistically, we'd maybe even have to see a sign and trade of Cam Reddish, which I don't like. Maybe just no Batum. Like, this is the thing, is when you're like thinking about trades, like this is part of why I don't see a Paul George trades, because you're trying to match like $45 million. Like, that's a lot of money to match. And I just don't know if it's really like feasible. Like, you could get something like this done, like pick 3 and like bad contracts. Like, Simons is interesting to me. I don't think Simons is like terrible. His contract's not that bad. But I wouldn't say it's like a plus value contract either. But it's like, does Paul George move the needle enough for the Blazers to do this? Like, I don't know. And it's the same issue I run into with like the Cat and Siakam things, is like, I'm just very much in the mindset I wouldn't trade pick 3. So, that's just how I feel. Pedro here says, how do you think this trade will influence the Clippers offseason? Well, first of all, it makes them better. They're significantly better at this point. Oh, and we have the deal, it sounds like. Relatively, like, it's on the doorstep, is my understanding of things right now. So let's go back over here to Shams Charania, and he does have kind of final reporting, not like finalized yet fully, but sounds like we are at the point where the deal is essentially being closed upon. Breaking: Celtics, Wizards, and Clippers are closing in on a trade, sending Kristaps Porzingis to Boston, Malcolm Brogdon to LA, Marcus Morris, and draft compensation to Washington. This was 3 minutes ago, okay, at 3:33 p.m. Central Time, June 21st, 2023. So definitely important to note. Definitely a pretty crazy change of events. Wow. Shams alert. Thank you, Brady, for that. I was a couple of minutes late. So I appreciate that official trade. So let's get to my trade grades now. But we do see an actual deal that we could realistically see. This is a deal that I think could actually really realistically impact the postseason next year. As I'm trying to think of what I'm saying here, as I'm looking at all of this stuff, and I'm just trying to make a overall read on everything that's going on. So, Shams Charania, breaking: Celtics, Wizards, Clippers are closing in on trade, sending Porzingis to Boston, Brogdon to LA, and Marcus Morris and draft comp to Washington. So first of all, for Washington, the fact that they're getting draft comp at all is a huge win for them. Without knowing what the compensation is, I'm going to generically give an A grade here to the Washington Wizards, because they turned what was potentially in Porzingis potentially an wasn't expiring, potentially just a flight risk in free agency. They turned him into something. So that's already a huge win for them. And it would have been worse to keep him and sign him long term for their team. I just don't think it would have been good for the direction of the franchise. So this is a huge win for the Wizards. Michael Winger and Will Dawkins have done a fantastic job since taking over in Washington. Of course, did a little bit of posturing at first in their kind of media availability, where they said, hey, there's a lot to work with on this team. We like the pieces we have. Of course, they're just trying to inflate trade value as much as possible. But we do see Porzingis now to Boston, and Brogdon to the Los Angeles Clippers. So we're going to have to keep our eyes on it. Here's Porzingis' total stats as well per team. As a Knick, this is according to Stat News. As a Knick, 17.8 points per game, 7.1 rebounds per game. As a Maverick, 20 points per game, 8.8 rebounds. And as a Wizard, 22.9 points per game, 8.5 rebounds a game. So very, very productive. Very good overall season for him. He was really, really good. Again, this past season for the Washington Wizards, which I'm very happy to see. But all in all, I think the Wizards moving off of him at this time does make a lot of sense. Really good move for them. The Wizards have done a great job kind of flushing this thing out as I'm tweeting here. For the Washington Wizards. Sorry, my brain is kind of all over the place right now because I'm trying to think about, what potential assets they could get. So we're going to keep our eyes out on it as well. Ben here says Wizards turned Dinwiddie and Bertans into draft capital. Insane. Yeah, they did a nice job kind of pivoting off of some of those other bad decisions earlier. Graham Christie, who's also a member on the channel, huge shout out to Graham, says, interesting for the Clippers. I like Kuzma going their way more due to the age and personality to extend their hero ball-centric approach. It sucks as an overall strategy, though the team is built for it. I think Brogdon's actually going to help them a lot as a driving kick guy. I think his ability to get paint touches is going to be pretty good for them, honestly. Kev here says Celtics top 8 is the best in the NBA now. Talent-wise, they need to make it work now. We'll see what's going to happen with that, but I think the Celtics are very well positioned, and I think theoretically, let's say they match up with the Denver Nuggets, this is a better fit roster now to kind of deal with some of the size. Porzingis gives you some of that rim protection, which I think if we saw them in a series, we'd probably see Porzingis matched up on Aaron Gordon, actually, and we'd probably see some of the forwards matched up on Jokic, which might be a death sentence, but you have to try a bunch of different things. J17 here says, only thing that matters is that we're getting Victor Wembanyama tomorrow. Yeah, it's a good little thing for the San Antonio Spurs. Cole Greats here says, Jared Allen to the Mavs potentially. I would love Jared Allen to Dallas. I think he'd be perfect for the team because he's big, athletic, and knows how to play as a big man, kind of as a roller downhill. So I think he'd be great, but I don't know if I realistically see that getting done. TJ Dub here says, does this mean that Pritchard will actually play? Also think Grant will walk now. I think that first thing is Pritchard probably is going to be included in this deal, is my guess. So we'll see what happens. We need to get more information on kind of what's going on with this. Let's see if we can refresh the Twitter here of Shams Charania, because he's doing a great job breaking it down today. Shams, of course, doing some fantastic work. Nothing new yet out on that, though. So we'll keep our eyes on Shams, and if there's any new reporting. Okay, well, here we have the first little breaking of news from Shams Charania. Let's go ahead and refresh this now. And it is part of what I included in my trade. The Clippers are expected to trade number 30 in Thursday's NBA draft to the Wizards as part of this 3-team trade. Sources said Washington nets a first-rounder for aiding Porzingis, opt-in, and trade. So definitely a really great start for the Wizards. And remember, this is part of what I included in my trade package. Just a reminder, this is what my trade package was. I might even put it in the as a banner here. Let me make it quick. Actually, I'm not going to do that because I don't want to mess it up. But Wizards, what my trade was Marcus Morris, Danilo Gallinari, Peyton Pritchard, Brandon Boston, pick 30, pick 35, and a 2025 top 10 protected first. Clippers got Malcolm Brogdon. Celtics got Kristaps Porzingis. Now, the one thing I'm unsure about is that 2025 first, if that's going to actually be included or not. That's the one that I'm like super worried about. But I feel very good about the overall vibe of the trade so far, and kind of the accuracy that I had in projecting it. Pick 30 just made sense to be included in this. Let's see if we're going to keep refreshing here on Twitter too to make sure we're not missing anything from Shams. Just a reminder too, go to Twitter and go sub to Utility Sports on there. Go hit that follow button, which would be right here for you. And then also make sure to hop in our Discord, and then also use that Aura link and sign up. Links in the description for that as well. But Wizards got 30th pick, 30 to the Wizards. Definitely very good for them. Craig Rob says, I actually wanted my Raptors to get Pritchard. That dude kills us every time he plays us. Pritchard would actually not be bad for them. B here says, new Shams. Yep, we got that up on the stream. Let's head back over to Shams as well here. Just make sure that we're not missing out on anything. But yep, still just expected to trade number 30. So like I had originally predicted and projected, pick 30 goes to Washington here. And like Ben saying, KP had his best season last year. I agree with that. KP as a centerpiece for Washington back in March, I believe. Yeah, so just moving off of Porzingis is really good. I think this is really, really great for them. Jamal Douglas says, who would you like to see the Wizards draft if they get 9 and 16 and they now have 30? Okay, so you're projecting what? 9 and 16. Are you projecting the Jazz to move up from 9 and 16 to get to 8? So the Jazz have 8 right now. So I don't see the Jazz, or the Wizards have 8. So I don't see the Jazz moving 9 and 16 to get to 8. But let's just say at 8, I could see the Wizards going one of two ways. It's either Anthony Black, who I think would be really good for them. It's kind of like a foundational piece next to Denny Avdia and Corey Kispert. Otherwise, I could also see Alstar Thompson is like a big upside swing. I think either of those two guys would be perfect for the direction of the Wizards organization. Otherwise, like even if they went Taylor Hendricks or something, I wouldn't be mad. Like there's really not a player in the top 9 that I'd be like, hey, this is a terrible pick for Washington, because right now their roster is pretty barren, which is good. It's exactly what they need it to be. But I think that 30, it's kind of an open door, like swing on upside if you want. Otherwise, take like one of those high floor prospects, which you can check out on my big board that I posted today on the channel. Yasin Muhammad says we need Chris Paul in a Lakers uniform. Let's actually go talk about that real quick. As long as there's not any more sham stuff yet, we're probably going to see some sham stuff here in just a second. But let's talk about Chris Paul to the Lakers and how that's a pretty realistic possibility that not enough people are talking about. Let's go back in here. Let's adjust this trade. And let's change this to the Lakers. And let's put the Wizards here on this side. And it really hinges on Malik Beasley's team option, $16.5 million. Mo Bamba makes 10.3. And Chris Paul goes to the Lakers. And let's see, what picks do we have in here? Like 47? Let's do that. Chris Paul to the Lakers for Malik Beasley on an expiring contract. Mo Bamba on an expiring contract, and pick number 47 in the draft. Giving the Wizards one more asset in this year's class. Maybe they could use 47 and 30 to move back up somehow. Get to like, say, 25, 27-ish, something in there if they want a specific player. Not move up a ton, but move up. And then Paul gets, of course, to a situation where he'd want to be in Los Angeles with the Lakers, which I think would be really good for both sides involved as a potential options. Zach here says, I mean, there's plenty of reasons to hate being a fan of a small market, but this deal isn't affected by it. I think, being a small market team isn't like, it used to be way worse in the NBA is what I would say too. Big J says, hey, who do you have at number 30 in your projected draft? I think I had Ben Shepherd in the last one, which would be pretty good for the Wizards if they got him. Kirk Rose says, yes, because small market teams don't get all the stars for nothing. Jay Coy says, that's a horrible trade. Porzingis is so much more valuable. Yeah, but like you have to, there's these things here about like the Wizards keeping him versus losing him for nothing versus trading him for something. Like the best outcome is trading him for something. So that's like really the only realistic option. Okay, it was Amir Coffey. It was Amir Coffey. I was so close. If you guys remember, I was so close to putting Amir Coffey in there, but I ended up putting BJ Boston in there instead. So let's go over now to Adrian Wojnarowski, who's doing a little bit of reporting on this too. And I'm so mad at myself because I actually did put Adrian Wojnarowski. Shout out to John Johnson and Wavy, by the way. Shout out to these two for going and hitting that follow button. Remember, I'll give you a shout out if you go follow us on Twitter right now. But let's go up and look at what Adrian Wojnarowski has to report. Celtics are working on the trade to acquire the Wizards' Kristaps Porzingis in a 3-team deal that sends Malcolm Brogdon to the Clippers. LA would be sending Marcus Morris, Amir Coffey, and 30th pick to Washington. Sides still have more work to do on an agreement. So if we go back to my original offer, just remember what my original offer was, what I kind of thought the deal could end up looking like. Theoretically, it was along the lines of this, where Gallinari and Pritchard have to go up from Boston to make the money work. But then I had put Brandon Boston in there. Remember, I paused and thought maybe Amir Coffey. And I was thinking about Michael Winger's relationship with the team and if he would prefer Coffey or Boston. I landed on Boston, but I obviously look like I'm wrong now. But I did have pick 30 in here. So Morris, player X, which I ended up being wrong about, but then pick 30 is coming out from the Clippers, which is exactly what I had projected initially. So I was pretty close on the overall value. And we'll see what ends up happening. But this is a good direction for the Wizards. I completely agree, Pedro. Ben says, so this means Chris Paul gets bought outright. Possibly, but not necessarily. He could still go to the Lakers or something. Preacher says, I would not trade for Chris Paul, though. Yeah, I'm not saying I would either, but Rob Pelinka might. So that's the one thing to consider. AC here says Woj is behind Shams this time. He is, but he has some more information with it. So it's not like he's just reporting the same thing Shams is. He's also accurate with it as well. Also, a huge shout out to a couple of people who just followed us as well on the Twitter. Shout out to T2 Shen. Shout out to Spiral X as well. Shout out to them. Mavs Fan 55, and also 49er Media. So huge shout out to all of you guys for going and hitting that follow button on the Twitter. Make sure to use some of those other links in the description as well. The Discord, definitely a great place to be. Want to go stop in there and chat some basketball with a lot of other people who really care about the sport. And then also use that Aura link. It helps out the channel quite a bit when you sign up for a 14-day free trial. It's completely free of cost to you, but it helps us out a ton here at Utility Sports. Spiral Trigger X says, please help me get Bojan off my team. Yeah, I do not want the Mavericks to get Bojan Bogdanovic. That's a please no from me. So we'll see where he goes. Daniela here says, good trade for the Wizards. Porzingis is a huge injury risk. I don't even know about the injury risk itself, but I understand like that he's been injured a good amount. So it's like you could realistically make that argument, but I don't know. I don't love to look at it that way. Jose, he wants to know about the Twitter. I just sent a link to the Twitter in the comment section, so go there right now. Not Your Average 10K says Brandon Boston got traded. I haven't seen Brandon Boston included in a deal, unless I'm missing something. I don't think I am. I think it's Amir Coffey. So just be patient on that. It sounds like Amir Coffey's going to be the one in the deal. Roland here says, Sheldon, thanks for your work. We all appreciate it. Roland, thank you for stopping in here. I really appreciate each and every one of you. We have 562 people in here. Really do appreciate each and every one of you. I love you guys leaving your comments in here so I can read them on stream and get you guys some shout outs and just honestly have a lot of fun talking some hoops. Guilty here says, looks like CP3 will be a Laker then. Probably the safest bet. Gary Bankston here says, I heard Memphis is shopping Tyus Jones. He's in the last year of his contract and won't be able to resign him. And want something now. Hope my Rockets get him. Hope he is veteran enough for Ime. He would be a nice pick. A nice pickup, for them. We also have another follower on the Twitter. So huge shout out to, let me see the notification here. Huge shout out to Knife Dog, which is Ben. Thank you so much. Noah Burris as well for the follow. Tyler Carver, huge thank you to you. Johnny B and Zay the God 24. So thank you guys all so much for hitting that follow button on the Twitter. Again, link is right here in the comment section. So go follow us if you haven't already. Malcolm Brogdon hurt all the time. Yeah, Malcolm Brogdon gets hurt a decent amount too. It's just kind of the way it is. Ben here says Marcus Morris put on a Wizards jersey for the first time since Boston-Washington game 2 in 2017. That's a funny one. Roland Miller here says interesting picks you took for my Spurs in the second round. I admit that I wonder Kobe or Colby could play point guard in certain situations. He's got the skills to play with the ball a bit. Jared here says, what teams do you expect to have the most movement in tomorrow's draft? I think the Pacers are going to have more movement. And I wouldn't be shocked if the Nuggets tried. Like the Nuggets now, I think, have 29, 32, 37. Like I wouldn't be surprised. Like I think that they like having some of that depth. But if they tried moving two of those up to get something a little bit higher, I wouldn't be completely shocked by that either. Alon here says Washington being robbed again and again. I don't think so. I think this is pretty good for them. They got pick 30, which getting a first rounder is pretty good. Quincy Sands 96. Thank you for the follow on the Twitter as well. Daniela here says Brogdon played almost the same amount of games compared to Porzingis in one less season. Yeah, Porzingis tore his ACL. There's your one season. Like it's just I don't know. Tay here says the Wizards can cut out Chris Paul by 628 if they can't trade him and take the $15 million hit for it. Yeah, because he's on a non-fully guaranteed deal. It's partial guaranteed. Rory here says, I don't think the Celtics will add in that first. Probably not. That's really the one thing I was unsure about. I ended up including it because I felt like value-wise, Porzingis is worth this, but they might not get all of that, which is fine because he's an expiring whatever. It's not going to be the end of the world. Tyler here says, what realistic trade value for CP3? Can the Wizards get anything in tomorrow's draft, or is that too much value? If you're getting something for CP3, it's going to be the very end of the draft, last 15 picks or so. Numb Pacers fan, which is Josh Medor. Thank you for the follow over on Twitter as well. Here we have more reporting. Let's go back over to the Twitter. Adrian Wojnarowski adding another tweet. So we're trying our best to stay on top of everything here. I appreciate all 539 of you awesome people in here right now talking about this trade. Porzingis would opt into his $36 million player option for 2023-2024 to make a potential trade happen. But there are still outstanding issues to be completed before a deal can be reached. Boston's Danilo Gallinari would be in the deal to the Wizards too. And if you recall what I had initially, I had Marcus Morris, Danilo Gallinari, Peyton Pritchard, Brandon Boston, pick 30, pick 35 in that 2025 first, which it seems like that's not going. But still, I think relatively close is what my projection was. Pretty similar, honestly, with that. Emmanuel G says, how about the Nets? I think that they're going to be aggressive in trying to move 21 and 22 up, but I'm not sure if there's going to be a team that wants to do that. Kuzma here said, Kirk says Kuzma will go to the Heat for a first-round pick in 2043. Unfortunately, you can't trade out that far, Kirk. Adrian here says Spurs should trade for Paul George. Spurs want to trade pick 33 and 44 this year. Why not give it to the Clippers? Because the Clippers probably aren't going to trade Paul George for that. Keston Paul, thank you for the follow on Twitter. Huge shout out to you. Spade says, what do you think? Does Westbrook stay in Los Angeles or does he move? I think he moves to either one of Washington or Chicago in free agency. And he won't be a part of any of these deals, but possible to see him. Miles here says, good God, to the CP3 to the Spurs possibility youth movement is afoot in San Antonio. I agree. Look at me here says Phoenix Washington trade isn't official yet. Maybe that's the fourth team holding up that trade. Yeah, so I think that they're still like working through trying to find a reroute destination for Chris Paul. What happens with Joe Steinow taking on a bigger role? Does this change Nets' plan in any way? No, I really don't think so. But I don't know. I think there are some arguments to be had. I'm going to move my camera here too real quick, just like a little bit tighter. There we go. Hopefully that's a little bit better. Nick here says, what big do Spurs throw money at? I could see Naz Reid being the guy that they try to sign. He's like a versatile big, can body down low a little bit, but also still fits as a spacer around Wembanyama if they sign one. 49er Media says Warriors should trade out of pick 19. We got enough good young guys. Yeah, I don't know. If they can get a deal that they like, yeah. But Scoob here wants to know, so is Grant Williams gone from Boston? I think possibly. And like honestly, for Grant Williams, two places that make a ton of sense: Houston or Utah. Those are probably the two landing spots. Houston as a reunion with Ime Udoka, or Utah as a reunion with Danny Ainge, who drafted him in Boston to begin with. Adrian here says Spurs have a lot of picks in the next few years. They should only draft Wemby this year and trade for a big-time player. I think that being patient and seeing what works and what doesn't with Wembanyama and letting him be like the go-to star the first year is probably best for their team long-term. Aragon here says, how can the Bucks make their way into the late first round? I don't know. The Bucks don't have a lot of trade flexibility, honestly. The Bucks are one of the teams that very, very difficult to see them making a ton of moves because they're not really positioned because they traded a bunch of second rounders for Jay Crowder and they don't have a lot of other pieces in general. Mr. Absolute True says my Knicks need to go all in for Porzingis or Zion Williamson. I'd like to see Zion in New York. Porzingis is headed to Boston, so he's off the table. Quendo says, I'm a Pelicans fan. I want Scoop, but I don't want to trade Zion. I would give up someone like CJ. You're not going to be able to get Scoot for CJ, unfortunately, though, in today's market. Make sure you guys are subscribed to Utility Sports, by the way. 525 of you awesome people in here. I'm going to quickly see how many subs we're at right now, and then I'm going to change the stream to subscriber only for commenting. So that means if you want to leave a comment, all you have to do is hit subscribe. It's completely free to do. Doesn't cost you any money, doesn't take any time. It takes like literally 1 second. I'm going to go switch that over here in like 3 seconds. So if you want to send a last second message without subscribing, you're able to do that. But I do think that overall you can just, if you want to, just go ahead and hit that subscribe button. It would be really great. I would really appreciate it. We're going to set it to subscribers only mode, and you can do it for any duration. So if you subscribe right now, you'll be able to comment still. Hopefully that makes sense. And if you guys do feel at all like there's any issues with stream quality, just hit refresh too, because sometimes it just updates, and it's mostly on your end whenever there's issues with that. Texas Sports, thank you for the $5. Texas Sports. This is my Discord moderator. He does a fantastic job kind of setting up events, doing a lot of great things in the Discord. He's been super awesome in there, and he says, join our Discord, Basketball Talk 24/7. Let's go. I'm going to go ahead and send the link to that right now as well in the comment section. So if you're interested in joining that Discord, the link is going to be right here for you. Make sure to go in there right now and actually join the Discord. We'd love to have you guys in there. There's a lot of awesome people in this chat right now that are from the Discord. So if you like what you're seeing in this chat, if you like what you're seeing in terms of conversation right now, it's all there in the Discord. I'm very active in the Discord as well. I feel like I've been trying my best to stay as active in there while I'm making videos, while I'm working, doing all the stuff in my life that I've got going on. Make sure to go join that Discord so we can talk some hoops in there. 49er Media says just join the Discord. Shout out to 49er Media. Let's get some 49ers hype in the chat for 49er Media. Spiral Trigger here says, why was I about to rush when I've been sub for a long time? Spiral, I don't know, but you're hearing what I'm saying. You're taking it with the energy I'm giving. So that's awesome. I love that. Miles here says, what do you think about the chatter regarding the Spurs needing to get a point guard? Trey Jones should be given the reins for the next year, in my opinion. I think Trey Jones is going to be a really good backup point guard. I don't see him being a starter. I think if the Spurs had a way to get up and get a legit point guard player, I would really love in San Antonio. That's not Casey Wallace. Casey Wallace, I think, would be really good there too. But Anthony Black for the Spurs would be ridiculous defensively. They would be unreal because they'd have so much length, size, athleticism. They'd have positional shot blocking across the board. They'd be really, really good with Anthony Black, I think. WS here says, Rockets trade for 10. I don't really see the Rockets and Mavs talking trades. I think that's just kind of a tough decision between those two teams. Big Sully here says, if Van Vliet leaves Toronto, what kind of signing trade package do you think we could get? Would it be similar to the Porzingis return? It would be a little bit less because he's actually a free agent. So, and I think committing big money to him is already a big question. So overall, probably just less money. Or not less money, excuse me, less assets going back. It's probably like a young player maybe in there. Gabby here says, man, Ayton and Wemby would be fun to watch along with all the pieces they currently have. I think it'll be interesting. I think the biggest thing for San Antonio is that they shouldn't commit a ton of money somewhere. M here says, any Pacers prediction on draft or free agency? For the Pacers, I think that the draft, they're going to land on one of the three guys. Cam Whitmore is 1, Taylor Hendricks is 2, Jarris Walker is 3. Now, I don't think that's their order. I don't really have good information, good reporting on their order that I feel comfortable of saying. But I do think that they'll be happy with any of those three guys. Those are 3 notable players they had for individual workouts. They also had Grady Dick in there. Don't really see that as a realistic option at 7 unless the draft goes in a completely unforeseen fashion that I just couldn't project. But for the most part, I think that they're going to likely be in a spot to draft one of those 3 I mentioned. Unlimited here wants to know what the deal is. So let's go back to the Twitter here. Let's go down. This is what the Wizards are getting from the Clippers, which is roughly what I had projected. Porzingis goes to Boston. Brogdon goes to the Clippers. The Wizards receive at least Marcus Morris, Amir Coffey, 30th pick. And there's going to be for sure Danilo Gallinari in here. So that sounds for the most part like what the deal is at this point. We'll see if there's any other elements that come in. I think pick 35 is a real likelihood as well. Man, I hate the fact that there's all these fake Twitter accounts, like fake Shams Charania with 14 followers, and somehow it pops up on my notification screen on the homepage of my phone. I don't understand how that's a thing. 4 Kings and Queens, thank you for the follow on Twitter as well. Huge shout out to all of you guys for hitting that follow button. Let's go ahead forward now to Miles here. He says, what about Hood Shafino versus Black? So Shafino have, instead of that A there, have an extra I. He's got 2 I's in his last name, in case SP is what you're looking for spelling. I'm not sure. Hood Shafino I think is good. I just prefer Anthony Black significantly because defensively he's a lot better. Big Joe says, love the content, bro. Nice work. Really appreciate that, Big Joe. I like your profile picture. It's a pretty cool little shot of AD and LeBron. Even though I'm not the biggest AD fan, I do like LeBron. Georgia here says, subscribe now. I'm in Discord. Make sure you guys go hit that Discord link and subscribe to the channel. Huge shout out to everyone that's supporting the channel. Roland Miller says, by the way, Sheldon, that's what you said a couple weeks ago when you did the in-depth on us. Did I talk about Roland? Let me think. Did I? You said something about something else I said, right? I'm trying to see. Oh, I think you're talking about the guard thing. Yeah, I think like getting a guard like and having Trey Jones kind of like move back into a backup guard spot is probably best for them. Nick and Dan says Intel says if Spurs line another first rounder, they're looking at Black, Bufkin, and Elsar. All three of them would be insane. I also think Casey Wallace is a name you have to keep in mind there too. July contract extension is likely for Porzingis, by the way. And Porzingis, I'm going to put this in the chat right now based on my understanding. Kristaps Porzingis can extend for 2 years at $77 million. That's Boston in the next 6 months. So that's my understanding of how his extension eligibility works after being traded. I think Porzingis can extend for 2 years at $77 million, which is actually a pay decrease. Because right now he makes 36. So actually, no, it's a pay increase. Excuse me. I had that backwards in my brain for a second. Porzingis can extend for 2 years at $77 million, which would be $38.5 million a year. Now, will Boston give him that? I'm not sure. But I do think that this is one of those effects of the CBA. Everyone thought like, oh, every team's going to spend less. Teams might spend more now and then say the more money we have on our books, the better, because it gives us flexibility to send out extra money. Because when you are over that second apron, you can't take in more money. So the more money you have to trade, the better, actually, which is a really weird thing to think because you wouldn't expect it to work that way, but that's kind of how it does. Intent, thanks for liking the tweet too. I think the Wizards are doing really good. I think that they're doing a great job in general. Brady here with his mock draft. Let's take a look at this quick. We're going to do a quick mock draft breakdown as well. Hopefully you guys feel like the Porzingis situation is interesting. Michael here says, who's a prospect that Wiz should go for pick number 30 now? Let's take a look at what we have mocked here. So for the Wizards, we actually have Trace Jackson Davis going 30th now at this spot, according to Brady. With Scoot at 2 and pick 29 is the Nuggets taking Max Prosper. Okay, so Victor, number 1, obviously. Scoot goes 2, Miller goes 3, Amen goes 4, Whitmore goes 5. Osar to Orlando. I think this is one of those really interesting ones right here. Osar Thompson. I think Orlando's a big wild card. If there's a team like that I'm really unsure which way they can go, there's like 4 or 5 prospects I could see Orlando considering at 6. Jarris Walker at 7 to the Pacers. Anthony Black goes at 8 to the Wizards. Hendricks falls to 9 to the Jazz, which is interesting. I'm very intrigued to see where Hendricks goes. Lively to the Mavs, Grady Dick to the Magic. So this is a pretty good draft for the Magic, I think. Koulibaly goes to OKC at 12. Casey Wallace at 13 to the Raptors makes sense. Bufkin at 14 I think is good. Hawkins 15 I like. Nick Smith Jr. to the Jazz at 16. Don't hate that. I think the upside's there. Keontae George, good. To the Lakers, I like that. Hood Schifino at 18 to the Heat. Really like that, actually. Leonard Miller, 19 to the Warriors. Really good fit. I think he'd be fantastic in short roles for them. Jet Howard at 20 to the Rockets. I like Sensabaugh, 21. Najee, 22. These two make sense to me. Clowney at 23 to the Blazers. You get the 2 Alabama guys. I don't hate it. They get some size. They get shot making. It's not bad. Chris Murray, Brandon Pajemski. Pretty good. Murray going to the Kings is funny because they drafted his twin brother last year, Keegan. Pajemski, 25 to the Grizzlies. 26 Pacers get Dariq Whitehead. So I think the more likely thing, especially in this scenario, would be potentially Maxence Prosper here at 26. Dariq Whitehead going down to possibly the Hornets at 27. I do think this is possible, but then at 29, I think the Nuggets would be possibly the team that took Dariq Whitehead then. Although I don't hate this, I just think that if Max Prosper is here at 26 for the Pacers, they likely take him, which is why I felt like they were more comfortable giving up 29 than 26 in their trade with Denver. And then 30, Trace Jackson Davis to now the Wizards. Not bad. I mean, they get Black and Jackson Davis. They get like 2 good floor players who are going to help like and fit around future potential grabs and future upside swings. It's not terrible. AC says, are you happy? Woj said he's not going to tweet the draft picks this year while he's broadcasting. Yeah, I think that's just a good thing for the draft in general. I think that prioritizing the TV broadcast should be the way that they go about it, honestly, instead of preferring clicks. Buxton 6 says, I like Hendricks to Orlando. I like Hendricks to Orlando as well. That's where I had him in my final mock. I am going to make a mock draft tomorrow live on stream I guess I should put a banner here too, real quick. Live tomorrow all day for the 2023 NBA draft. So as a special tomorrow, since it's NBA draft day, I will literally be live on the channel for like the entire duration of the day. So I'm going to be in a different room. You're going to see a new part of my house. So that'll be awesome for you guys, I guess, if that's something you care about. But I'm going to be there. I'm going to have TV broadcast audio on during the draft so you guys can hear the selections. I'm going to stream the entire first round. And then from there, we'll kind of give some grades too as we go. It'll be really fun. So if you guys want to stick with me for that, it would be really, really great. I would love to see you guys in there for that stream. So make sure you guys are subscribed to the channel right now. I'm going to go refresh and see how many subs we're up to now that we've been using that subscriber only comment section. So nice, a little bit of growth there. I'd love to see that. Make sure you guys hit that subscribe button if you aren't already. 480 of you awesome people. It's just been really great. I love seeing on Twitter too. Like sometimes you guys just tag me and stuff and be like, hey, I want to make sure he sees this. It's really great. It really does help me because you guys show me and share with me a lot of things that I haven't seen or that I missed some information, some news from credible sources. So I really do appreciate that. I also appreciate those of you who just tweet at me in general. Let's go over to messages here with Zach. Let's zoom in here to this Dropbox. Hopefully this shares correctly. I don't know if this is going to work. Here we go. I'm trying to, this is the first, okay, I see how this works. This is something new to me. I've never used Dropbox like this, so this is unique. Okay. I see. So this is, okay, this is Zach's mock here. Let's go ahead and get this up on the screen. I need to stop sharing from this one. Let's go back over to notifications for now. Also, shout out to Dalton Hamilton. He tweets at me a lot of different things, so I always like seeing what he's sharing. Let's get over to Zach's mock now. So, Zach, hopefully you're in here to enjoy us going through it. Pick one. Look at that. He got the first pick right. Victor Wembanyama to the San Antonio Spurs. Pick number 2, the Charlotte Hornets. He did go with Scoot Henderson. Very interesting. And he's got, some of their interesting players. I like the way he has this laid out, too, because he's got their cap space situation all laid out. It's pretty good. Pick 3, Brandon Miller. He has to the Blazers. Interesting. Pick 4, Amin Thompson. I would have guessed. Good. Pick 5. This is probably going to be Cam Whitmore, I'm guessing. That's who he goes with. Good. Pick number 6. Now, this is what I'm interested in. I need to see what Zach goes with here. He goes with Ausar Thompson. Okay, so he's going with the upside, which I think is a realistic possibility for Orlando. I think you could realistically look at them going with upside in terms of taking like Ausar Thompson and Bilal Coulibaly then at 11. Or you could see them kind of going with functionality of like a Taylor Hendricks at 6 and then Grady Dick at 11. Those players, I think, maybe fit the roster a little bit smoother, kind of more fit and propulsion pieces to their current core. Whereas these other guys could really help like accentuate their ceiling and really stretch how good this team could potentially be down the road. Roland here says, Sheldon, no, that's not what I meant. When you did the in-depth on the Spurs after they got victory, you said the Spurs should stay the course. Oh, yeah, right. Yeah, hopefully you guys did check that video out. That was probably one of the more cinematic videos I had too, was that one and then the one after it too, which I think was really high quality, honestly. Zachary here says, how big is the gap between Lively and Najee? As a Mavs fan, I'm wondering if we trade back, would Najee be a target? I think Lively is a lot more NBA ready, but I think Najee could realistically be a very high ceiling player. So I think if they do move down, it's a possibility. Zach here says, I didn't know how else to send it because you can't DM files. No worries. This is perfect. It's actually kind of fun because we're going through it live. Pick 7. Okay, so he's a Pacers fan here. Now I need to wrap my brain around and think, where is Zach wanting to go with the Indiana Pacers? Whitmore's off the board. I don't see him going with Grady Dick. So that means it's really between Jarris Walker, Taylor Hendricks. Which one of those two prospects? I'm guessing he goes with Jarris Walker. And he did. He went with Jarris Walker, which I'm very interested, Zach, to hear. You and I were previously discussing. Mark, this is a funny comment. Zach, I'm very interested to see. Right now, let me know, Zach, who do you have higher between Jarris Walker and Taylor Hendricks on your big board? I would love to see. I would really love to see who you ended up going with, because you and I had a lot of discussions about that. Zach here says, enjoying all the Zachs in the chat. Let's get some Zach hype in the chat right now. Make sure to go comment some Zach hype down below. Choose whichever Zach you want, with a K, with an H. Maybe put Zachary in there even. I don't care. Put some Zach hype down in there below, though. They definitely deserve some love. Let's go back over here now to pick number 8 with the Washington Wizards. He's got Anthony Black. Okay, not bad. Pick number 9, I'm guessing Taylor Hendricks here. Yep. Pick number 10, the Mavericks. I'm going to assume he goes with Grady Dick. Yeah, that's what he does. Pick 11, Magic. I'm going to assume Bilal Coulibaly. He goes Cason Wallace. Okay, interesting. Cason Wallace. I don't think that's a bad fit. Pick 12, the Oklahoma City Thunder. Zach here says Leonard Miller. I like this a lot for the Thunder. I think this is the probable best target for them that fits their current team and roster construction. Pick 13, the Raptors. The Raptors. Who is he going to go with here? Kobe Buffkin. Okay, pick 14. Here's Coulibaly. He goes 14th to the Pelicans. Okay, that's who I was waiting to see where you had him go. Jordan Hawkins, Derek Lively. Okay, so he's going with like kind of a developmental big, which I like, because if you look at these two guys' like contract statuses, that actually makes quite a bit of sense. I like the way you laid this out, Zach. That's actually really good. I might actually copy some of this style going into mocks for 2024. Pick 16, the Utah Jazz here at this spot. Nick Smith Jr. No, Jalen Hood-Schifino. Okay. Lakers go with Jordan Hawkins. Good fit for them. They need that. Keontae George to the Heat. Good. Pick 19, the Warriors go with Chris Murray. I think that's a good selection. Jet Howard, 20 to the Rockets. 21, Sensabaugh to the Nets. Good. Interesting. So 2 kind of upside scoring guys for the Nets. I don't mind that. I think that they do need to find some rebounding on this roster, but they might not have to spend a first-round pick to do it. Repair, 23 to the Blazers. Interesting. 24, Pajemski to the Kings. I like that. Whitehead to the Grizzlies is good upside swing for them. Pacers here, you have Maxence Prosper. That's what I figured. 27, Maxwell Lewis. Man, I'm not a Maxwell Lewis guy, but I do think he will be a likely first-round pick or a very high second-rounder. 28, Gigi Jackson to the Jazz. I think a lot of people are kind of landing on that as a realistic option. Colby Jones now to Denver at 29. I think that's pretty good. And then 30, James Najee to the Wizards. So overall, I think actually a pretty good mock draft, pretty intuitive. I felt like I was able to guess a lot of the selections you'd make, which means it's pretty good. And Zach actually has Hendricks higher, which is exactly where I landed with it too. Zach, should we go through my big board? Should we just do some of that right now? Like, is that something you guys want to do? Because we could realistically do that. My big board is laid out in a very different manner than typical. Like I've never seen anyone else do a big board the way that I did it. So if you guys want to see that, I definitely think it would be fun. Let's get rid of that. So let's start at the top of my big board. Let's go ahead and present. Share my screen. Window. Let's get this up in there. Can you guys? I have to fix this. Okay, never mind. I'm not going to be able to actually showcase that right now with some of the issues we were having. So that might just have to wait. Unless I can go to, let me see. Does this work? Okay, so I can share this. I'm not sure why the other thing's not working. Let me see if I can go on just the web browser to what I used and make that work. We'll see if I can get that to work, and we'll show some of my my big board, what that ended up looking like. I'm very happy with the way that it actually played out and showcased. Because I think it's quite a bit different than I've ever seen a big board done before. Zach here. Zach's trying to figure out how much hate he can generate from people. And Zach, that's the best way to go about it, is like the vanilla choices are like the ones that are most realistic, honestly. Nick and Dan says, Discord, don't forget to take part in the contest, guys. 12 p.m. Eastern time. You need to send me your final list. Yeah, so we have a challenge right now in the Discord. And the winner is going to get a shout out on Twitter and on YouTube and also in the Discord itself. So make sure to get in there so you can take part of that. TLGS says, so Kristaps is traded. I was hoping for a unicorn/alien to team up in San Antonio. It would have been sweet if they did for sure. Illuminati Gaming says, big board time. Brady Thompson says, I like the way it was set up. A good graphic. Yeah, I don't think I've ever seen, I don't know if you guys have seen anyone do it that way, but I have never seen anyone do it that way. But I was very happy with how it turned out. So let's see if I can get this in there now. Are you guys able to see this? I think you should. Okay, yeah. So just quickly, I've got it laid out on the sides here of like where this player could potentially reach. And the top of their bar is their ceiling. The bottom of their bar is their floor. So it's pretty relative. Like you can quickly compare like, hey, what's the floor of this player compared to that player? based on my analysis, my expectations for the player. And then also, like, where is that relative to other players throughout their careers, whether that's a starter, role player, depth piece, end of bench, fringe roster guy, or are they like a high quality starter, star, all NBA, Hall of Famer, whatever. So for Victor, and then also from left to right is like the gap between so for Victor and Scoot, I think even though Scoot's a great prospect, there's a massive gap between the two, and that's shown going left to right as like the spatial gapping between the prospects. Because every time I've made a board in the past with like just generic numerical numbers and even like some tiering, I'm just like, I don't really think it does a great job showing like the actual like my actual feelings about it. But Pedro wants the link to the Discord too, so let me go ahead and send that in there right now, Pedro. The Discord's really an awesome place, so make sure you guys hop in there and then take part in that in that contest by Nick and Dan's. Nick's a big time Spurs fan, so make sure to hop in there. A couple Egyptians. We'll talk about that in just a little bit about Paul George to the Pacers. Zach, interesting here, says, I'm not interested in Grady Dick to the Mavs. I think his spacing would help for both Doncic and Kyrie, but I think both of them are. I mean, like Lively's not bad either. I don't hate that pick. So for Victor here at 1, I mean, I think his potential. I don't think he'll ever be the greatest of all time, even though I think he's the greatest prospect ever. I don't think that necessarily equates to being the best player of all time or anything like that. I just think that he has like the fundamental tools to be like a surefire Hall of Famer. And there's only like a small little likelihood that he's not if he gets injured or whatever. Scoot Henderson, and Thompson, I think both could potentially become Hall of Fame level players or all NBA guys. Like, I mean, Scoot Henderson is the guy who I feel a lot more confident on just because he's got a higher floor because he's a better shot maker. But I think Amin Thompson, if his development goes right, if he gets the right shooting coach and improves his game in the right areas, he could realistically end up being the second best prospect. And if Victor doesn't stay healthy, perhaps Amin Thompson ends up being the best prospect from this draft, which sounds crazy right now, but I don't really think it's that far of a stretch, if assuming like lack of health for other prospects at the top. Brandon Miller at number 4. I do think he has somewhat all-NBA potential, but mostly I see him as like a guy who's either a high-quality starter or an all-star, which is good. Like if you're taking one of those guys in the top 4 of the draft, it's a good value pick. Taylor Hendricks, Anthony Black, for me, I landed with them as more like surefire, like, hey, these are high-quality starters. These are going to be impactful players for your team. They're going to help you win games. Both of them defensively are it's big reasons why I'm so much of a believer in them. Hendricks is more of a rim protector, but can switch out in space a bit. Black, of course, for his, defensive acumen as like a kind of gap stopper in terms of off the ball, what he does. And then on the ball, I think he's just going to be very overwhelming for guards. He's very active and quick, too, for his size. Cam Whitmore, near all NBA level potential. I don't know if he quite gets there. Like maybe he does because forward spots are pretty hard to there's not a lot of depth at forward. So if you're like one of the best, you're going to probably make an all NBA team, but I don't know. And then there's also like the chance that like he's maybe not even a high quality starter just because of the playmaking. But I think for the most part, I feel very comfortable with him landing in here as like a near all-star-ish level wing, which is good. All-Star Thompson, I don't really see as an all-star, but I think he's like a high upside still, like possible high quality starter for his defensive capabilities. And because of that, I don't think his floor is even as low as other people would probably project. Jarris Walker, I think very safe, but I don't know. Players of Jarris Walker's build, like I just never end up being as high on them as others. So maybe I'm wrong about Walker. Like Walker at 9, like this is really what I wanted to show on this board. It's like I think there's quite a substantive gap between Whitmore and Thompson, as shown by this gap here. And I think there's a good amount of overlap between 4 and 7, where like realistically any of those prospects you could sell yourself on in general. Detlef says this big board is really cool. I hope you enjoyed it. I spent so much time working on this. Of course, not only just evaluating the prospects itself, but just in general, like, I spent a ton of time on it. So, and like just actually making it. Brian K here says Jokic's draft comparison was Enes Kanter. Some guys can break through the ceiling. Well, part of the issue here, and this is one thing I'm going to say, is like my evaluation right now is off of everything I've seen players actually do so far. So, for example, we haven't seen Anthony Black play as a high pick and roll point guard on a spaced court and an NBA floor with good shooting around him. In fact, we've mostly seen him play for teams that can't shoot the ball. Arkansas only shot 31% from three this past year. So for me, with Anthony Black, it looks like, hey, I've got a really low ceiling for him compared to his kind of high floor. So it looks like there's not a lot of mobility here. But if he goes to a team with elite shooting, maybe he plays at an even better level because there's other things around him. And the issue too is like when you make a big board, you're essentially doing this is what I believe about these guys before I even know where they're going to play next year, before I have any clue what system or scheme they're going to be in, and all of those things, all the other factors around them that obviously go into impacting how their careers play out. And you're trying to like put a player in a box, and that's really impossible to do. But like with that, like, you know, players sometimes just progress and sometimes they don't progress, and you have to like account for what your expectation of progression is for them. It's like the most impossible thing to do in all of sports. That's why drafting is so difficult. That's why so many teams, GMs, executives make lose jobs and lose their opportunities to build good teams because they make us a big mistake, obviously. Not your average 10K says, you really think it's a gap between Victor and Scoop besides height and weight? Yeah, because Victor is going to be one of the best defensive players in the league. He's unreal defensively. Like, people like to focus on his offense. His defense is what's going to make him the best prospect from this draft, not even close. He's the best rim protector in the NBA, maybe day one of his career, honestly. Zach Aldridge says, part of me wants to make my own like this, but I'm not good with things like that. Although it seems like a huge time commitment. It is. But I recommend doing it. Like, to be honest, I think this should be the standard of what big boards look like going forward. Because just like realistically, like, I feel like everything I actually believe I could lay out in this, and I could actually demonstrate, like, this is what type of role I think this player plays in. I think this is kind of what their ceiling could potentially live up to. Like, and I think it works really well because, like, in here, like, I feel like for the most part, I've generically seemingly been lower on Brandon Miller. But, like, this shows, like, I think that there's a sliver of hope he could be an all-NBA player. I think that there's a chance there. But most oftentimes, like, a good percentage of the bar finds him being like a all-star or just high-quality starter, which is still really good. Like, that's not a bad thing. Most drafts have like 3 to 4 all-stars. Jake O'Shea wants to know where this big board is available to look at. How would I find a link for that? Let me see if I can do something here. Let me stop my screen share for now, and let me see if I can find a way to share this. Can view. Okay, let me check this real quick. I think that this should work. I used Canva to do this because that was the only site that I had like real experience with doing anything like this. So I wanted to use something I was familiar with. Zachary here says, Bilal Coulibaly is the hardest prospect to predict. He could go 9 to the Jazz or somewhere in the late teens. I think he'll be a lottery pick, honestly. Mike Howard says, do you think Bates is overrated? His combine numbers weren't too good. No, I think Bates isn't overrated. I think I landed with Bates at 37. I think like he's got the skills to be a role player, but he's kind of got like the attitude and I don't know, like it's about his style, the way that he plays. Like I could see him only being a depth piece or even a like end of bench guy, like as he's below this line a little bit. But I do think that if like stuff were to go right for him, like his shot making improves and his decision making as a scorer, like his shot selection in general improves. Like I could see him being a low end starter, which for a lot of these other guys I don't see as much. Like I don't see Kobe Jones being a consistent starter, but I could see Emoni Bates potentially growing into that. Although again, as you can tell by the percentage of the bar, it's not like I would bet on that as much. Hopefully this is working. It seems like you guys are able to pop in here and see this board. So hopefully it works pretty good. Got some awesome people in here. That's awesome. Like 7 or 8 of you guys. That's cool. You should be able to view it and see where everything is. Just a quick note too on this. You're going to see like when I was trying to make this, I ran out of space. I'm going this way. So I just restarted here with like 31, 32, 33. And you'll see that's what I had over here too. Then you can just work your way back up. So I ran out of space. Realistically, what I'd want to do with this is work them all down in one straight line, but I just ran out of room doing that. So I recommend, like, you know, if you're doing something like this, try and make it as wide as possible, but you still need like a decent amount of vertical height to really showcase everything. So Canva wasn't the best for it, but I don't know. For next year, I'm going to find something It's a little bit better for it. Mavs Man who says, who do you think might slide in this draft? From my projections right now, like players who I think might slide that should be like pretty high picks, like Leonard Miller might like slide down to 19. I could see Kobe Buffkin might slide down a little bit out of the lottery. Although I feel like Buffkin's going to go in the lottery, but I could see him sliding a little bit. And then I also see the possibility of like Derek Lively sliding more than people are projecting right now. I know some people have him at 10. I don't think that's like crazy to think. But I do think that there's like a possibility that like teams don't value him as much as some of us scouts and stuff do. So I think that's just something you have to consider. Roland here says, we're proud of you down here in San Antonio. I'm actually going to recommend Sheldon to the Spurs organization. Well, Roland, that would be really, really great if you guys did that. Like, and this is honestly my dream long-term is either being a GM or being a decision maker, working in a front office, or just flat out coaching. I think I'm actually probably a better coach than I am a talent evaluator even. So I love basketball. So, I mean, it'd be my dream at some point to work in one of those roles, which is why I work so hard on this. So hopefully I have like a catalog of stuff that I've done. Sherlock here says, first time I see you live, just wanted to say that I love your content. You became probably my favorite guy to follow for NBA content every time a trade or signing happens. I'm waiting for your tweet. Well, Sherlock, I really appreciate that. That's very, very kind of you. And I'm very, very thankful for those kind words, because like doing this sometimes, like, you know, I do see a lot of mean comments too. And not that I can't take it. I can. It's fine. You know, people are going to disagree. But having like people say some nice stuff too does go a long way, and keeping my like motivation up a little bit for like, hey, people actually do enjoy what I'm doing and they don't all think I'm stupid, which is good. Jake O'Shea says, thank you for sure. Hopefully you guys are enjoying looking at it. I see a good number of you guys in here, which is cool. I didn't even think about sharing it with you guys this way. So I'm glad that someone recommended doing that. I think I don't remember who that was. So let me see if I can go. It was Jake O'Shea. So thank you for requesting that, because it was a great idea to do that. Matt Moore says, do you like to do the cha-cha? No, I'm not going to be doing the cha-cha on stream, unfortunately. My dance moves are reserved for after I've had a few beverages first. AC says, I know Lively canceled his workout with the Warriors. Some, you know, people, like the one thing I'm going to say is like people really pay a close deal of attention to workouts. I think workouts matter a little bit less than, you know, most people assume. Workouts are important. I just don't think they're like oh my gosh, unless you're Charlotte. Charlotte cares about workouts a lot. Unlimited Range says, do you think more picks could be involved, like 35 or 26 first from Boston? I think 35 could be involved. We haven't really heard anything though. Yeah, but I do just overall, like one thing I have to say real quick, 350 of you people in here still, which is awesome. Huge shout out to all of you. I appreciate you spending some of your afternoon with me here, just talking about basketball and having a good time. But I think one thing I'm going to say about Washington is in my previous videos, I did some of the worst futures in the league's videos, two of them actually, one before the lottery, one after the lottery. And both times Washington appeared in my top 3 or 4 teams in the listing. Within a week or two of Michael Winger's arrival to Washington, I do not any longer believe that this team has a brutal future. Now, I think that they still got a long ways to go, but I think that Michael Winger has perfectly executed kind of taking this team out of a really kind of tough, questionable area and leading them a little bit closer to water in the desert, where I can believe that, hey, look, this team's got a lot of flexibility going forward. They don't have a lot of bad long-term contracts. They got out of Beal's contract, got a bunch of second rounders and some pick swaps in there too. I think they're in a really strong position moving forward. Gabby here says, just for the storyline, it'd be cool to see Orlando do their best Sam Presti impression and extend the life of the Vucevic trade. I think so. If they move off of 11 and get like 2 or 3 future firsts for it, even if they're kind of like long drawn out first, it could be really nice for Orlando having a few extra assets to play with throughout the primes of both Paulo Banchero and Franz Wagner going forward, if they don't love someone at 11. Yak here says, GM Sheldon, you know, if I'm GMing a team, I'd hope that I do better than what Mark Cuban and Nico Harrison are doing in Dallas right now. Zach Aldridge says, I work at Indiana University in athletics and hear every day from different people that Trace won't be drafted, or others that say Trace should be a top 10 pick. Trace will definitely be drafted. If Trace doesn't get drafted, a bunch of GMs deserve to lose their job because the guy's good at basketball. I don't think he should be a top 10 pick. And if we go back, let's flash back to my big board here, actually, real quick. One thing about this, remember, like I said, is the starters down here are a little bit different, just with the way I had to relay this. But I finished with Trayce Jackson-Davis at 15. I had him over Max Prosper. I had him over Derek Lively. I'm a big believer. Anytime you have a big man with passing talent, passing vision, understanding of how offense and defense should work, he's going to be good. And at 23 years old, I know people are going to say, oh, that's terrible because he's old. He's kind of like, how much potential is left in there? The thing is, we don't really need to worry about potential for a guy like Trayce Jackson-Davis because we know he's good. And the other thing is, if you draft him at 23 years old, his rookie deal brings him through age 28. A second contract of a 4-year duration, if you were to match an offer sheet for him, if you draft him in the first round, brings him through age 32. So you spent your entire prime of his career in one city. You're the team that drafted him. You get good years out of him the first 5 years, and you get good affordability throughout the entire duration of his prime. So I think for team building with the new CBA, finding players who are a little bit older after pick 14, so non-lottery selections, assuming you're a team that is a playoff caliber team, you have playoff pieces around, like drafting a Trayce Jackson-Davis can go a really long way in winning. If Denver finds a way to get Trayce Jackson-Davis, oh my goodness. Isaac here says, crazy how I started watching / listening to your team offseason breakdowns and just got sent down a rabbit hole with your whole channel in Discord. Well, Isaac, I'm glad that first of all you enjoyed that first offseason preview. I'm kind of bummed at myself a little bit because I did 22 offseason previews this year. And I put a ton of work into those, and I only got to 22 of the 30 teams. I wish I got through all 30. I got through every single lottery team. I got through 8 other teams as well. I just kind of ran out of time with, for those of you who aren't in the know, I just moved. And I bought a brand new setup. So I had a lot of other kind of stuff going on. I got a promotion at work too. So I ended up running out a little bit of time on some of the things, but I'm pretty happy with how much I got done this year, 22 of them. It's a pretty significant amount, I'd say. So I'm pretty happy. Jared here says, what's the most likely team to blow it up? Probably would be the Blazers, honestly. Dallas, okay, report according to ESPN, Mavs want Capella and the number 15 pick. Dallas willing to send number 10 pick to Atlanta. Hawks prefer to include John Collins in a trade. If the Mavericks get John Collins, I'm going to be a little upset because he's owed a lot of money. And I don't think his impact's necessarily what the Mavericks need. Real quick, I'm updating the title here as well. Man, I don't know. I think Capella to Dallas makes sense. I don't love the idea of John Collins to Dallas. A few years ago, I was okay with it. Not anymore. I'm not. I don't think it's what they need. AC here says, I think Trayce will go to the Warriors. Trayce Jackson-Davis to the Warriors would be a perfect fit, by the way. I think he'd be really good. Here's like a kind of zoomed out look at my big board. I think you guys should be able to zoom on YouTube. So if you want to zoom into any single specific part, you should be able to. That way you can like take a look. If you're on mobile, especially, I know you can zoom. So it would be helpful. Not your average 10K says Lively should have stayed at Duke. With Kyle, honestly, a lot of these players should have stayed in college. I just feel like some of these players won't get any playing time or get sent to the G League. The nice thing is, they're making a good amount of money if they get drafted. Like Lively is about to sign a contract worth like $20 million when he gets drafted. So I think, Lively is going to be just fine. Eric here trying to manifest a little bit of vibes here saying Hornets picking Scoot Henderson. I'm going to have a tweet out later about that, Eric, that I think you're going to definitely want to retweet that one, Eric. Wowza says, your opinion of Blazers trading down to 4 and selecting Amin Thompson plus a big from Houston. I like that, honestly, for Portland, but we'll see. Pete here says, why would the Clips trade a first-round pick for Brogdon? Because Brogdon is the best guard on the roster. He's good. Zach here says, I'm going on a walk with my girlfriend. Stream was fun. Have a good night, y'all. Yeah, thank you, Zach, for hopping in here. We've been live for almost 2 hours. Zach's been a huge catalyst in the Discord and just on the channel in general. So, Zach, huge shout out to you. Thank you for stopping in here today. We're going to be live on the channel for just a little bit longer, having some more overall NBA draft discussion and just kind of having a good time here discussing some of the potential moves. I do have an updated title now too on the stream, so hopefully you guys do see that. And I hope you guys just have been enjoying the content in general. It's been a lot of fun being live here on the channel and just talking about a lot of different things. Air Up wants to know about Rockets rumors. I think the most likely thing is like they're going to draft one of Amin Thompson or Brandon Miller, I believe. And Amin Thompson might be the most realistic option, although I'm not certain on Brandon Miller if he's going to be available or not at their pick. Spiral here says, hearing no reports involving Detroit makes me feel like we're not going to do much at all. Sometimes that's okay, though. The calm before the storm, like we still have 24 hours or so until kind of the things start to really heat up anyway. So even if you're not hearing anything right now, these GMs, these executives might be working the phone right now. Isaac here says, any ideas for forwards Clips can get now that they have a logjam at guard? I actually don't think the Clippers have a logjam at guard. I think that they're going to lose Russ, and I think their guards next year are Terrence Mann and Malcolm Brogdon. So I think that they're actually in a pretty decent spot. And I think realistically, if we see Norm Powell traded, it's going to be to Phoenix in a deal centered around DeAndre Ayton, I believe. Who Pete here says PG to the Blazers, third to Pels, Zion to the Clippers. That's pretty crazy. I don't think that the Clippers would be involved. I think the Blazers, if they were finding a way to pull Zion off the Pelicans, they would be the team to prefer. They'd be the team preferring to get Zion Williamson, which I think right now, actually, if we want to, let's take a look real quick at some potential Zion Williamson trades. I haven't done this on the channel. I don't think it's the most likely thing, but I do think that it's worth at least discussing and talking about. So let's start with Portland. I think Portland's really the team that could probably pry him away. Otherwise, it would be Charlotte, but I don't know about that. So let's see, Portland and New Orleans. We see Zion Williamson get traded to the Blazers. Simons goes back to the Pelicans, along with, what's the money difference? $9 million here. Probably see Nasir Little and Kevin Knox. And the Blazers give up 3 and 23 in this to get Zion Williamson. Something along the lines of this. Zion for Simons, Little, Knox, pick 3, which could potentially be Scoot Henderson. We'll see what happens on draft night. And then also pick 23, which is the first rounder from the New York Knicks. Pretty good move for them, I think. And the Mavs get a big and stay in the first round. Holmes or another not linked. You could get Rashawn Holmes. Yeah, you like taking the Rashawn Holmes money definitely would be an option, I think. But Who Pete here says, we appreciate your coverage. Was looking forward to your draft coverage again since last year. I'm excited for it. Remember, guys, too, just so you don't forget, I'm going to be live tomorrow all day long, starting at some point in the morning before noon. And I will literally be live throughout the entire first round of the draft. And then I'll probably end the draft stream kind of around the start of the second round so I can begin my process of putting together my draft winners and losers, which will come out immediately after the draft is over. So make sure you stay tuned for that. And then I'm also already in the works for my 2024 NBA mock draft, my way too early mock draft. So I've already been watching a lot of these prospects for next year, looking at their high school film specifically. Some of them, of course, are returning to college. So I already have a good feel of, say, guys like Kyle Filipowski, what they're going to be and stuff. So I think there's a lot to break down and discuss, but I do appreciate this. Who Pete saying on the next Mike Schmitz. That's a nice comment. Mike Schmitz, I think, really knew what he was doing. So I'm really glad for him. Jake the Snake says Blazers need Herb in this. I could see that. Herb Jones could potentially be included. Jake, I understand that. This is kind of, again, framework. It's like, if this is like, what will happen in these trade discussions is, Team A will send something. Team B will say, no, we need this in there too. And they'll kind of like not talk for a little bit. They'll both kind of sit there, think a little bit and discuss with their organizations. And then they'll come back to the table and say, okay, we can do this, but not that, what you wanted. And then they try and work from there. Brady Thompson says, got to head out, working late tonight. Great stream, draft day tomorrow. Brady, thank you so much. Brady had the first comments on the stream today. So he's been here the whole darn time. Brady, huge shout out to you. Really appreciate you, again, taking time out of your day to hang out with us here on the channel. Spiral here says, do non-Pistons fans value anyone on the team besides the core 3, Cade, Ivy, and Duran? I don't know what other teams want so we can get back bad contracts or assets. I think, like, Bojan probably gets you a couple second rounders or like a really low end first right now, if there's a team that wants Bojan Bogdanovic. Daquan Davis says no one is going to want Zion. He can't stay healthy and off the court problems if New Orleans is asking for too much. Yeah, but I think, this is also the guy that was just the number 1 overall pick a few years ago. Video Vandal says, what do you think of my Pacers trade today? Is this just a move to spread assets to next year, or is this a lead up move to a bigger move coming? Well, I think that they still are positioned to make another trade. Like, They still have 26.55. If they feel like wanting to move up, they have other assets now going into the future that they could potentially move as well to get back up in this draft if they want to. But I think it is about spreading assets. They had 5 draft picks in this year's draft. They also have pick 40 now, so they still have 4 picks in this year's draft. So they have some flexibility for sure. Not Your Average 10K says, as much as I think Brandon goes to the Hornets, I honestly think they pick Scoot. I don't know why. I just feel like they pick him even though Brandon fits way better and can shoot the ball way better. I actually think Brandon Miller fits not that good because you think about the things LaMelo Ball is really good at. LaMelo Ball is a shot maker on the perimeter, can handle, can run a pick and roll, and does a lot of nice stuff, but he doesn't finish at the rim. He's not a rim presence, and neither is Brandon Miller. Brandon Miller shot under 40% on 2-pointers this year in the half court. Now, he's good in transition on 2s, but in the half court, he doesn't really get to the rim either. He doesn't finish at the rim. So I think there's significant flaws to both of them. And I think that they have the same weaknesses, which makes them, I don't think, a very good fit at all, honestly. I think, like Brandon Miller would be a better fit with Scoot because Scoot gets downhill, gets paint touched, and kicks out from there. Like LaMelo Ball doesn't really do that. Okay, so I just think they're a little bit different. Isaac here says, what's your ideal trade for the Mavs to get better? Probably 10 for Capella and 15. Like 10 and Bertans for Capella and 15 is like the best trade they could possibly make if they find a way to get that done. Either that or like moving down to, say, 16 and 28 with Utah is not bad, or 21 and 22 with Brooklyn. I don't think it's bad either. Georgia Bulldog says, what are your raw thoughts on next year's draft? I think next year's draft is deep. I think that there's a good amount of players. And I think that there's a good amount of players that are going to be impact guys in the NBA. I think like even in the second round next year, you're going to be able to find players who are impactful. I think that the issue, though, is the top 3 or 4 of the draft next year would not be top 3 or 4 picks in this year's draft. I think that's just the reality. My number one prospect for next year's draft so far is Matas Buzelis from Sunrise Christian. He's going to be playing for G League Ignite next year. I think he is the best prospect. He's got great size, positional versatility, can handle the ball. I think he's a better Franz Wagner, which is a really, really darn good player to get. But I don't think his value would be higher than Brandon Miller's or Scoot Henderson's or Amin Thompson's, and definitely not Victor Wembanyama's in this year's draft if he were in this year's class. Brady Thompson says, do you think the T-Wolves can get Wembanyama? No, unfortunately not. Maybe if they trade Gobert, we'll see. I'm just messing around. Jake says, Herb's defense is needed. Murphy is less obtainable. Yeah, I don't think Murphy's going to be available. Mason here says, 2 Brady Thompsons. Who's the real one? That's a great question, Mason. Kyler says, could you see OKC move Lou Dort this offseason? Probably not. Probably not. Who Pete says, we're all waiting for 2033 guard James Taylor has signed with the Utility Sports Agency. I have thought about like trying to be an agent. I don't know. I'm thinking about going back to school, but I'm not sure if I have any like solid plans on that at all. I need to give that more thought before I say I'm going to do something. T Squared says, if you were Dallas, would you take McDermott, Charlotte 24, top 16 protected, Toronto 24, top 6 protected, pick 33 and 44 for Bertans and 10? No, I would not. If I was Dallas, I wouldn't. Spiral Trigger says, wait, what time do you go live tomorrow? I don't have a firm time because it's going to depend on my video schedule and getting some other stuff prepped for the weekend. But it's going to be in the morning. It's going to be before noon Central Time. So pretty much all day. Just make sure you have notifications on for the channel so you don't miss out on more. Adventify says Anthony Bennett was a number 1 pick. Yes, he was. And that's possibly what the class could look like next year. Now, I think Matas Buzelis is a lot better than Anthony Bennett, but we'll see. C Squared, I would probably need at least one more first, just given the protections on these aren't very great. Like top 16 protected probably means I don't know when that's going to actually like convey. And then like 2024, like top 6 protected. I don't know. I'm just not doing that if I'm Dallas, honestly. Isaac here says, wait, someone asked about PG to Indiana again, and you said you'd talk about it later. Did you ever bring it up again? Yeah, no, I can. Let's talk about that now. Actually, that's a great one to bring back up. So thank you for that. Let's go back over to this trade window and let's just look at that. I don't think this is going to happen, honestly. Be kind of a fun feel-good story, even though the Pacers boo Paul George pretty much every time he's back in town. But let's see, Paul George to Indiana. The nice thing is they have a little bit more cap space to work with, so they don't necessarily have to send out all of the money in the world to make this happen. We probably see pick 7 and pick 26 out the door, and probably could see Daniel Tice go back. TJ McConnell goes back, and maybe like a couple young players, Aaron Nesmith, Jalen Smith, Isaiah Jackson, probably. Like, again, they don't have to match money, but it's about like sending out some money because the Clippers, the Clippers get significant financial saving here. Not that that's important to them, but really you're getting like a couple of assets, like a high level asset here at number 7, another first in 2026. Like, again, this is a framework. This is by no means the finished product of a deal. Like, the Clippers probably would want more for Paul George to do it, but this is kind of like the framework of, hey, what's like a possible beginning point for a trade? Like, this is probably what gets the door open to like, hey, let's actually have discussions. Jess up here says, who is the most Thunder-like prospect and why is it Bilal? I think it's Bilal, but I could also really see a few others. I could see Leonard Miller significantly being a Thunder-esque prospect with his like point guard history back in high school. And I could also see Kobe Buffkin with his connectivity, ball handling, defensive capabilities. I think he would fit that team as well. But I think Bilal is very, very much OKC Thunder-esque as well. Arib says, what do you think a Kuminga trade would look like? Let's play around with Kuminga a little bit here. I know people like the idea of him going to Indiana, so let's just keep it that way. To start with, let's start with Warriors, Pacers. The issue is, like, if you're making a deal, like, you're only working with $6 million here, and you're trying to make something else work in this. Like, I just don't know. I don't know if I really see, like, what's going to happen. Tyrese Halliburton at, like, rookie money is so funny because, like, Tyrese Halliburton just feels like a 28-year-old vet at this point because he just doesn't screw anything up. He's like literally the perfect point guard. It's kind of funny. Bucks and 6 says, what kind of guys should the Bucks target at 15 or at 58? Anyone who's ready. Any player who can play right away. If there's any NBA ready player there, they should take him. I had Drew Timme go there in my final mock. C-Squared says, makes sense. I was thinking Dallas could use solid draft compensation for 10. You're right. Definitely needs more. Could help Dallas make some moves, still fill out the roster. That's a good point. I didn't think about it as like a rerouting option, like where you maybe expand it to 3 or 4 teams. That's an interesting proposition, C-Squared. So actually, maybe you're onto something there with that. Dylan here says, could you see the Knicks package Obi and something else, possibly picks to get into the first round? He was linked to the Pacers, but since that Denver trade happened, that rumor could be dead. I would say that the Knicks, if they're trading one of their young players, they're trading it for future picks, not for anything this year, because they're continuing to line up for a star. Like, the Knicks don't have any firsts this year, but they've got a whole bunch of them in 2024, and I think their dream scenario is they line up for a star who asks out, and they have the most assets to give out of every team in the league, and they're in a position to do that. Patrick here says, what are we doing with Indiana? So are you talking about through the draft? Like at Indiana at 7, I think is going to take one of Whitmore, Hendricks, or Walker, whichever one of the 3 is available for them. I would expect 2 of them to be off the board, which will be interesting because if 2 of them are available for them, then they'll be in a spot where they have their choice, which is pretty good. But for trades, I don't know. Like we're trying to look at Kuminga trades, and I just don't know if I really see any in there that makes sense. Like, the other thing that you could maybe look at is, like, does Kuminga to Washington for, like, Avdia make sense? Like, Avdia probably fits the Warriors better. Kuminga, a little bit more raw, could be a nice, like, upside swing for the Wizards. Like, I don't know. I'm not sure if I see one. Like, there's some reporting about Chris Paul to the Warriors. I don't really see that. I don't know. I think that the Warriors are a really hard team to project right now because Mike Dunleavy is their GM and he hasn't made any executive decisions for them yet, so we'll see. Josh Began here says, do you think OKC will trade up for Hendricks or Walker? If so, who would be a better fit? I think Hendricks would be the better fit off of the players, but I think Walker has a slightly higher ceiling. But I would prefer Hendricks for them. I think Hendricks is the better player of the 2. WS says, could the Rockets pack Tate and 2 for 10 to 18 pack? Are you talking about like a second rounder? I don't think anyone has any interest in Jayshawn Tate like that. Central Powers Production says, how likely do you think it is that Ausar Thompson is available at 8 for the Wizards? Probably like 50-50 chance. It comes down to Orlando, and I don't have a great read on Orlando right now. I think Orlando is one of the hardest teams to project currently because they could go fit, they could go upside, they could just go raw talent. Like, they could go a combination. At 6, they take off of talent. At 11, they take off of fit. Or at 6, they take off of fit. 11, they take off of upside. Like, they're really hard to project right now. Jared Noley says Joe Harrison 21 for Bertans and 10. I don't see the Mavs doing that. I think Joe Harris 22 and 21 for Bertans and 10 would be what it would have to take, because Harris isn't viewed around the league as like a big upgrade, even though I agree he's better than Bertans. Like, teams aren't lining up to get Joe Harris at this point of his career anymore. C Squared says, I'm planning for the Spurs to get another first rounder for a player like Buffkin. Would love his fit with the Spurs. I think Buffkin would be good with them for sure. Ben says, I like Bilal with the recent history of French dudes that aren't Wemby. Frank, Killian, Sekou. I really love Sekou Doumbouya in his draft. I thought he was going to be so good. Really big L. Gershon Yabusele, Elie Kobo, Timothy Luau-Cabarrot. It's a little troubling. Yeah, like I think Bilal's a little bit different though, because he's a wing. A lot of these guys like are guards or forwards. Like, I think Koulibaly is like a 2-3 hybrid, not a 4 or a point guard. 10 for Kuminga, 19 helps the Mavs. He could play the 4 for us. Kuminga's really raw. Like, Kuminga couldn't help the Mavericks right now. I just don't believe that. Like, Kuminga has the upside to be like a really good long-term player, but Kuminga right now doesn't know what's going on in defense half the time, unless you're using him as a point of attack defender, which is probably what he's best at. But like, he's really raw still. Guilty here says, I heard Kuminga's like 7'2" now. That's not true. That's not true. Jonathan McIntosh says, are Magic better off keeping their picks or packaging them to trade up for a shot at Scoot? If the Magic could get Scoot, they should do it, I think. Sherlock here says, how the loss of Brook Lopez could affect the Bucks. How could they cover the loss? I think they're going to keep Brook, fortunately for them, because Brook's really good. But we'll see. I think that they're an interesting team to watch. NFL Draft says, hey, I sent you those trade proposals sort of the other day. Could you go over them on the stream? Hey, Jordan. Yes, let's do it on stream. That's a great idea, actually. Jordan, let me see. Mentions. Let me go down. A lot of different stuff. Brady Johnson, thanks for this. Spurs attempting to acquire a second lottery pick with Bilal Koulibaly considered potential target. Teaming him up with Victor again would make sense. Appreciate all of you guys, by the way. Let's this was a few days ago. Let me keep scrolling here until we get to that spot. I'm looking for it right now. I meant to respond to that, and I've been so busy with making my big board and stuff and finishing up some things. So I appreciate your patience, Jordan. Let's see how many. This was like what, 3 days ago or so? Probably pretty close to this time period. Let me see. A lot of Pacers content on here, which is funny. Jordan, I'm guessing you're a big time Vikings and Timberwolves fan, which is pretty sweet. Minnesota gang. There we go. Can't watch a Vikings game without having a heart attack. That's funny. Let's see. Where could I find this? I'm trying to find it right now, Jordan. I don't quite see where they are. June, what day was this? June 17? Okay. That was 4 days ago already. Wow. Holy cow. Last couple of days have been flying by. So June 17. I'm trying to find where you tweeted them at me, because I know you tweeted them to me. I just don't know where they are now. June 17. Shouldn't they be right here? That's what I'm confused about. Jordan, do you mind resending those to me quick, and I can go through them on stream? Just tag me in that initial tweet, and that way I can see it right away, because I don't know for some reason why I can't find it on stream. I'm having issues with it right now. Oh, and you guys couldn't even see the Twitter anyway. You were on the original page. Oh, sorry about that. But I couldn't find them, Jordan, but go ahead and try and tag me in them, and I'll get to them as soon as I can here on stream. Isaac here says, any possible trades you think could happen that would be surprising or unexpected on draft night? I think Brooklyn, 21 and 22 getting packaged for something. I think Brooklyn's kind of the team to watch for something unexpected, honestly. They have a lot of assets. One hand, Yusuf says, Wizards getting shanked with no Vaseline this offseason. I think the Wizards have been doing a good job. Central Power Production says, what do you think is the highest quality draft class in the next couple of years? Well, this one is. This is the best draft class. Otherwise, it's the Cam Boozer draft, which is 2026, I think. He's what, 15 right now? 2027. He's one of those 2 years. I need to refresh myself on that. Patrick Talbot says, Gavoni says Indiana targeting Kuminga. I'd be over the moon. I'd like it for them. John Gonzalez says, I just want Jalen Hood-Schifino in Miami. He'd be good there. Though the Wizards do not have Phoenix's 52nd pick. They do not. That's the only asset that Phoenix has yet from draft compensation perspective. Mason says, what are the odds the Celtics keep pick 35 in the KP trade? I'd say 50-50 at this point. And the fact that we haven't had reporting on it is a little interesting. Hamza here says, what do you think about Rockets rumors? I think that they like Amin Thompson, 4th. So I don't think they're going to trade the pick. I'd be kind of surprised. Club here says, would Chicago trade Ball and draft comp for CP3 to get off of Lonzo's deals for an expiring NSL point guard? Not like the worst idea, but they don't really have a lot of draft comp to trade. And if they did, it'd be like a second rounder. Hamza says, what do you think about Rockets rumor? Like I said, they don't have a lot of... I just don't see them trading. So Spiral Trigger says, do you have a sleeper player who could be the Jimmy Butler or Jokic level sleeper in the draft? I don't know. I think that's like really difficult to project and feel comfortable in, like saying that. If I had that player, I feel like I would just have them significantly higher. Player I really like that's lower, like than the other people have lower. Leonard Miller, I have a 12. I don't really know where other people have him a ton, but I do like him quite a bit. Otherwise, I think like, I don't know. I just think that there's a lot of like solid pieces in here. And I think if a player does grow a good amount, like Bilal Coulibaly maybe is the guy that like turns out to be something like crazy from this class that I'm like not projecting as much. But I don't know, if I had like something firm, I would just have them pretty high on my board. So I don't know. Like maybe Imani Bates, he has like some of the perimeter skill set that you'd look for in like a creator guy. I do like Mohamed Gay a lot. I had him at 31, and I feel like if he, I don't know. I feel like realistically, I could have talked myself into having him at like 25-ish, 23-ish, maybe. Like, I maybe could have talked myself into that, like maybe 24 even. I probably could have had him in that range. Central Power Productions says, is there any chance that the Rockets pass up Brandon Miller if he falls to 4 for Walker, Hendricks, or Ausar? No. If Miller's at 4, they'll take him, I think. That's what I believe. Jordan, were you able to find oh, here we go. Perfect. Thank you, Jordan. Okay, great. So you nice. You attached some of them. Great. Okay. Thank you, Jordan, for doing that. That way we can share it now on the stream. So let me stop that one and let me share the other screen. So let's get over to it now. So Jordan shared these with me, some potential trades to possibly watch for. The Bulls here get off of DeRozan. He's an expiring deal. They get Kennard and Brandon Clark, 2 youngish players. Kennard's in his mid-20s. Clark's mid-20s roughly as well. And they get a 2024 first for DeRozan. Grizzlies get kind of a half-court score. I don't know if this really helps the Grizzlies that much, though, long-term. Just because I think he's kind of an awkward fit next to Bane and Morant, even though I think his skill level's there. It's an interesting. I know these trades were meant to be unorthodox, so definitely interesting. Here, this one, Blazers get Blake Wesley, Jeremy Sohan, 2024 first, 2025 first, 2027 first for Damian Lillard. I think the Blazers would probably get a little bit more than this. Maybe a couple extra draft picks. The Spurs have a ton of picks, so probably see a few more picks, but not a bad like kind of beginning point to a deal. Raptors and Thunder here. Thunder get OG Anunoby. Raptors get 2024 first from Utah, 2026 first via the Clippers. Ousmane Dieng, who has massive potential, could be a player that we see take a big step forward next year. Jeremiah Robinson-Earl and Kenrich Williams. I know the Thunder really like Kenrich Williams. They'd like to not give him up in the deal if possible, but of course, to make the money work, he had to do some moving around, and Kenrich Williams was the guy who found himself out. That's not a terrible deal. And then Timberwolves, Kevin Porter Jr., Jayshawn Tate, Tari Eason, who I'd like there, 2025 1 and pick number 4 for Karl Anthony Towns. This is a deal that I could see coming to fruition. This is something that actually makes like structural sense, I think, for both teams, because Cat gives the Rockets a big time All NBA level player. Tari Eason, I think, would be a great fit next to Rudy Gobert and Anthony Edwards and Jaden McDaniels. Jayshawn Tate, he's depth, whatever. Kevin Porter Jr., probably six-man scoring type for them. He would do what they hoped Jalen Noel would have done this past year. Getting pick 4 gives you probably Amin Thompson, your long-term starting point guard. And then 2025 one. I mean, this is about as good a value as you can get if you're Minnesota, in my opinion. When it comes to like, hey, if you're a believer in Amin Thompson, like pick number 4 is like probably the best thing because I think Jordan's got a couple of other trades here too. Yep, here we go. Let's take a look at this one. This one is a big one. Holy cow. Nets get John Collins. Suns get Capella, Bogdanovich, Garrison Matthews, Sharif Cooper on a 2-way deal, 2024 first from Sac. Hawks get Lowry, Dorian Finney-Smith, Sumner, Shamet, Ayton, Hero, Day'Ron Sharp. Heat get Trae Young. This is a crazy package. I don't see this happening. That's a pretty crazy package. Pacers get Siakam for kind of the 3 low guys and then 26. So they don't have 29 anymore anyway. And to get Siakam, you'd have to give up at least pick 7 in the deal for sure. Celtics here, after making their move, I don't see them making another trade since they have Porzingis now. I think they're going to keep their roster, but interesting framework to look at. And then the Bulls here, this is one that I could see possibly making some sense. I think the Nets would have to give up some more money, though, and maybe even Cam Thomas in this deal. But Simmons, Day'Ron Sharp, 2027 1, probably an extra pick or 2, and then Cam Thomas for Zach LaVine. Not bad. I think interesting trades to look at for sure, Jordan. Thank you for sending those. Megs here says if Orlando drafts a guard at 6 or 11, Spurs get Gary Harris, Cole Anthony. Magic get 2024 first and McDermott. So, it's not bad actually because getting Cole Anthony's pretty solid for the Spurs. Harris can shoot a bit. Not terrible, Megs. Kind of like that actually. Not brutal. I like that. Make sure you guys continue to send me your trades. Shout out to Michael Orlando as well with $5. He says Anthony Black said Orlando gave the impression they would trade Cole or Suggs if they liked his workouts enough. Who would you trade out of the 2? I did not see that about the impression thing, which is interesting. If I was trading, I would trade Cole over Suggs because I think right now you can get a better return on investment on Cole. And I think with Suggs, I still believe that there's like feasible skill set in there that you can work with and build around, whether that's as like a bench defensive guard or like a kind of 5th starter type. Either way, I think that Suggs is still a player that would work pretty well. Spiral Trigger says Hawks get an expansion team in that deal. Yeah, they did. Cole says, do you think Celtics made the right move? I think it's a good move for the Celtics. I like it for them. Video Vandal says Pacers been linked to DeAndre Hunter. I love that. What do you think Pacers give up in this scenario? Probably Pacers give up 7 and get back 15, something along those lines. Roughly is what I would kind of project. Looking at a couple other things too. Michael here, Jonathan says, Michael, I'd lean toward the trading Suggs if they draft Black. I think you could assume they envision him playing point guard and sliding Fultz to the 2. If that's the case, I want Cole coming off the bench. Like I think Cole fits the team a little bit better, but I think like the upside of Suggs is still a little bit higher in my opinion. But Michael, again, thanks for the $5. Last year, guys, a little funny story background. Last year, I talked about how I buy pizza for myself. Order pizza for me and my buddies every year for the draft. But since I was streaming for the first time during the draft, I wasn't planning on doing that. And then Michael literally sent me like $20. He's like, "Hey, make sure to buy a pizza." So I ordered a pizza live on stream. So maybe that's something we could get done again this time around. Would be a lot of fun for sure. Something maybe we should look at. David here says Lillard potential to the Nets. Let's pull this up. I'll read it to you guys. Actually, let's just get it on the screen. That'll be fine. David, thanks for sending that. Let's share it right now. Share screen. So here it is. This is the trade that David's shared. Blazers get Vinny Smith, Nick Claxton, 22, 33, 3 future firsts, 2 of them from Phoenix, or via Phoenix from the Nets, and then 1 of them via Philadelphia from the Nets. Spurs get Simmons in 21, which is interesting. They get Simmons in 21 for 33 and 44. So I see they're kind of eating the salary here of Ben Simmons is essentially what they're agreeing to do. They also pick up a first-round pick. They move up 12 picks in the draft and also give up 44 and eat Simmons' contract. I think the Spurs maybe need a little bit more in this. And I think the Blazers definitely need more in this. I think the Blazers probably get 1 or 2 extra first-round picks still. But with Nick Claxton in there, like the one thing is, like if you're the Nets, you trade Nick Claxton, who's going to rebound for you next year with Damian Lillard? I don't know. I think this is an interesting framework. I think the Blazers are really a team that holds a lot of strength. Michael here says, you better believe the pizza thing is happening again, buddy. Michael, you're the best. Michael always makes me laugh. He always one of the first streams ever on the channel, Michael is in here. And we had like this rowdy Knicks fan too. And the Knicks fan was trying to get everyone riled up and talking about how the Knicks are the best team and how they're going to win the NBA title. And how Julius Randle, I think, was like, a top 5 player is what he kept saying or something. And Michael just kept making fun of the Knicks. It was just like the funniest thing because I don't even think, like, Michael was just trying to get that guy riled up even more. And it was just, it was really, really funny, honestly. Sherlock here says, at this point, do you see DeLon Wright and or Monty Morris getting traded to some contending teams? I would have really liked DeLon Wright to the Clippers had Brogdon not gone there. I think DeLon Wright's a pretty solid player. So that'd be fun. Ryan was part of that too. Ryan and Michael were getting that guy super riled up. It was pretty funny. Ryan's been watching the channel for a really long time too. So Ryan, huge shout out to you. Thank you again for that member status too. It goes a long way in supporting the channel. And just real quickly too, I want to make sure you guys do see kind of the let me see. Let me try and find it here. I lost it for a second. Having 2 monitors, by the way, is so nice for streaming. Like the fact that I have stuff on this side over here that I'm like, oh, if I need it for the stream, I can just go grab it and drag it back over. Like that is so helpful. Make sure too, real quick, I'm going to be wrapping up the stream here relatively soon. If you want to support the channel, I don't want to ask for your guys' money or anything. I don't like doing that. I love it when you guys send it because it's very helpful. It does go a long way in kind of supporting the channel and helping us continue to grow, put out good quality content on top of everything else I do. But this is probably the best way to do it. Through Aura right now, if you use that link that I just sent and it's on the screen right now, you can get a 14-day free trial. We have a kind of sponsorship deal worked out with Aura. They're a really good company. They sponsor the Minnesota Timberwolves as well. So I would look into them. Okay, click that link, sign up for a free trial. It's 14 days. Doesn't cost you any money to do. Doesn't cost you anything. Sign up for that. It does help us out a lot at Utility Sports. So make sure to go do that. Thanks again, guys. We really do appreciate everything you do for it. And I would really love to see you guys in the Discord. Again, like I said, I'm very active in the Discord. And I am live tomorrow all day pretty much. My current plan is probably just sometime before noon Central Time. So probably like 11 a.m. Central, maybe 10 a.m. Central. And I'll be live all day long. We'll probably do what we did last year where we take like half-hour breaks occasionally for me to eat and kind of just take a little bit of a breath, just because streaming for 8 straight hours, 10 straight hours ends up being a lot. So if I start streaming at 11 a.m., I'd probably stream until 9 p.m. So that's a 10-hour streaming day, which with me just literally sitting here and talking. I've been talking for 2.5 straight hours. So, I'm durable. I can do it, but it does get to a lot. So we'll probably do like the half-hour break thing every couple of hours in there too, just for me to get some water and take a deep breath. Because I haven't drank any water in the last 2.5 hours either now. But David here says, best draft analyst on YouTube. Hey, David, I really appreciate that. You guys are the best. I really do appreciate you guys, probably even more than you like having my videos come out and stuff, just because like having people who care about the draft and care to talk about the NBA is really my favorite thing. And the fact that you guys like to hear what I have to say, it does really mean a lot to me, and having like a nice community that I like to be a part of. NFL Draft says, what do you think are the odds of the Wolves trade Cat tomorrow night? I would say less than a 30% chance they trade him. I don't think it's super likely. Jard says, didn't he lose his voice? I lost my voice at the trade deadline this year, Jards. It was like really bad because I streamed for 4 straight days. I streamed 30 plus hours over a 4-day stretch of me just talking. It was rough. And I was teaching at the time too. So it was just a really, really bad situation. Eric here says, who could Hornets get for Terry Rozier mainly to get off his contract? I don't really see a real likelihood of them being able to trade him unless they like include 27 to do it. And they move maybe down a spot or down a couple of spots. That's probably the most likely outcome, honestly. Let's real quick, we're gonna do one more thing here too that I want to share quickly. before we end up going. I think it's a good idea. So let's hop in here now. And real quick, I do want to showcase, real quick, we're going to do one last little thing here on the stream. And I think it's a really cool thing to show. We're going to hop into the Discord now. So you guys should be able to see, this is what the Utility Sports Discord looks like. We have text channels for all 30 NBA teams. We've also got small text channels for some NFL, NHL, MLB, gaming, fantasy, college hoops, that kind of stuff. But the NBA mock draft one really pops off. I mean, look at how many messages there are in here. There's a lot of great content being shared in here at all times. Let me make sure to turn off the volume on this too, if I can remember how to do that. Mute site. There we go. But I really recommend hopping in here and checking some of this stuff out. There's really good draft discussion. We post some different types of sources in here. So if you're looking for a place to stay in the know and look at a whole bunch of different basketball content in general and have discussions with guys, like this is the great place to be. We got people joining in here all the time. A lot of different people in here just leaving messages, comments, talking about upside for the Wizards, like just a lot of great stuff, honestly. So kind of funny, some of the stuff in here, but I would really recommend going and checking that out. Again, the link to the Discord is in there. Ryan, like he's saying here, the Discord is nonstop basketball combos and ideas. So it's a lot of fun stuff. And we're also going to be doing some more polls in here. I'm working on adding some stuff too, but there's a lot of great stuff that goes on in here. A lot of like good discussion. There's actual roles in here now too. So you can get like a role like for your team name. So like, for example, here, Top has his, like, that's the color of the name. Like Patrick here has a Pacers color. Stingy here, I think this is a Celtics one. I don't remember if that was Celtics colored or not. I think it's Celtics. But all in all, like I think it's a lot of fun because you can hop in here and discuss basketball. 49er Media obviously got established in here too, obviously earlier. So this is a great place to be. There's 220 of you awesome people, which means there's a lot of you in the stream right now that aren't in the Discord yet. So I would really recommend joining, checking that out, and just having a good time with us in there. I'm pretty active in there as well. So let's just make sure that we hop in there and have a good time. Glad to have everyone in there. I'm really excited for just kind of the future of what that's going to look like. We're going to have a lot of great content coming out on the YouTube channel, of course. So make sure you're subscribed. Don't miss out on any more of our content. Hit that notification bell. And then also, please don't forget to leave a like on the stream if you did enjoy. And then we'll also get you guys into that Discord. You guys have been absolutely awesome. I've had a lot of fun today being live. If you haven't yet already, I'm going to drop the link right now for my here's my draft board, my 2023 big board, final edition. Make sure to check that out. Had a lot of fun with it, so I'd really recommend checking it out as well. Thank you to everyone who's been in here. 2.5 hours of streaming. I'm going to be live tomorrow a whole lot more. I'm going to go work on a video right now, set some stuff up. I got some work to do yet today, prepping for tomorrow, but I'm really, really excited. I hope you guys are as well. Thanks so much for being in here for this live stream, and we'll catch you in the very next Utility Sports video.